Odyssey Sports Station.
92.3 The Fan, 2020 Sports.
This is 2020 Sports, brought to you by Smiley One Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing, and Bryant, Cleveland's premier heating and cooling service providers. For the first time in 20 months, Deshaun Watson spoke to the Cleveland media. Watson working his way back from shoulder and Achilles injuries, and he could be the Browns' starting quarterback this fall. Watson on how many fans would rather see Shedeur Sanders than him as the starter now. It's not really something he can worry about.
At the end of the day, I can't control what, people support. I think that's their own opinions. I think that all I can do is just put out the best person I am, showcase who I am as a person, as a player, as a teammate, and what I represent as an individual. So outside of that, I can't focus on, what the outside is saying or what they, I have no control over that, other than just putting out the best, product that I can put out as a person and as a player.
Meanwhile, Shedeur Sanders doesn't feel like the situation he and Watson are in is a competition. Sanders says he's just focusing on himself. The final day of mandatory minicamp is today in Berea. NBA Finals Game 4, New York beats San Antonio 107-106. OG Anunoby, a tip-in with 1.2 seconds left to go, and New York rallied from 29 points down to win. Largest comeback in NBA Finals history, top of the 24-point comeback by Boston against the Lakers back in 2008. Anunoby had 33 points. Jalen Brunson led the Knicks with 36. New York now leads 3-1, can win its first NBA title since 1973 with a victory Saturday night down in San Antonio. Guardians lose to the Yankees 8-4. Parker Messick giving up 5 runs, 4 earned in 5 2/3 innings. Yankees sweep the 3-game series. First time the Guardians been swept in the series since August of last year. In the loss, Angel Martinez had 2 hits, including a solo home run, matching his career high with 11. Austin Hedges had a pair of RBI doubles, but the Guardians dropped 4 in a row. Meanwhile, the Guardians also no longer in first place in the AL Central. The White Sox beat Atlanta last night 2-1. Guardians now trail the White Sox by a half game. Chicago has won 7 straight at home and 9 of 13 overall. White Sox have not led the Central this late in the season since 2021. White Sox close out their series against the Braves tonight in the Windy City. Can now find 92.3 The Fan on YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, get the best content from our shows each and every weekday. That's 92.3 The Fan on YouTube. Headline sports news every 20 minutes right here on 92.3 The Fan. From the University Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Jeff Thomas. Up next time, the Ken Carman Show with Anthony Lima here on 92.3 The Fan.
The Afternoon Drive.
You and I would rather do just about anything in 2026.
Just about anything.
Than watch Deshaun Watson play quarterback for the Cleveland Browns.
And so I'm worried. I'm sitting here and I'm thinking to myself, are we just off? Does everyone else feel like the comments Todd Monken made last week don't really matter, and this is just an end result of Deshaun Watson? He'll be your quarterback week 1, and it was always destined to be this.
I'm still giving enough room that I'm wrong on this.
I mean, I'll just
about Deshaun specifically.
I'm just, and maybe I need to budge off that. I haven't seen anything that tells me I need to, though, yet. And maybe it'll be us in training camp seeing it firsthand. I just have a hard time thinking until games are played there's anything he could do that would change my assessment.
The Afternoon Drive. Weekdays starting at 2. We are Sports Radio 92.3 The Fan. The Ken Carman Show with Anthony Lima.
Deflected in the backcourt. Fox has a chance to get it. Fox has it inside. Blocked by Anunoby. Brunson gets it. Fires up a 3. Shot no good. The chip, it's gone. It's gone. It's gone. With 1.2 remaining. Knicks take the lead. OG Anunoby, and it's 107-106. Harper lobs it inside. Castle hasn't lost it. That's it. It's over. The greatest comeback in NBA playoff history. The Knicks pull off the miracle comeback and lead it 3-1.
This is Cleveland's Sports Radio 92.3 The Fan.
Audio courtesy ESPN. Hello.
It seems like it would have been a fun game to see the end of.
I went to bed.
So did I.
I went to bed. Did you go to bed at halftime like I did?
I'll let the record show. I think most hosts like to lie to you in the morning when they say they've seen something.
I think a lot of hosts will lie to you in the afternoon if they said they see something. They went to bed. I think a lot of people might have went to bed at halftime last night. Why wouldn't you?
I was out. My head hit the pillow immediately at halftime because I was already making my way up. Wife was already up. It's like, do the litter box thing. We have this whole thing because of the damn cat. Yeah. And I'm like, all right, now I got to chase the cat around. I go and find the cat because the cat goes downstairs, I think, to kill bugs.
Good.
That might be finding their way into the house.
That's the investment.
Some easy access points.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got to go put the cat in the back room, make sure the water and food is ready. Well, already that's when basically halftime is about to start. I make my way up the steps, put my head on the pillow, and I am out. I am out immediately, probably before Charles starts even lighting up the New York Knicks for that first half performance, in which they were all-time bad.
It was.
And then imagine my surprise when I woke up.
It was nuts. Absolutely bizarre. I'm going to get to Daryl, by the way. You guys got to hear this at 6:20 because we got to go quick. We got the great Joel Bitonio, who joins us at 6:40 today. So you'll have to hear Daryl coming up because Daryl is just completely unimpressed with anybody. He brings a hammer out during any off-season camp whatsoever when it comes to quarterbacks. That hair was flowing yesterday. If you watched it on 923thefan.com and on YouTube and all these stuff, his hair was magnificent yesterday. What a mane. And he must be feeling sexy and sassy, and he let everybody have it. So we're going to get to those comments coming up here in a bit. However, I fell asleep, or I went to bed. I didn't fall asleep. I went to bed. I mean, it was a 29-point game. And then to lose a 29-point lead like that,
now, should we have known better, given what the Knicks have been able to do? This is the fifth time they've come back in the last two playoffs.
Which is nuts. I had no idea.
Points.
Maybe we should have known better. Maybe I should have. But I still, 29 in a finals.
Does that jeopardize ball knower status?
It's for you or me?
For everybody involved. Anybody that went to bed at halftime last night.
No, it's 29. It should jeopardize things with the Spurs as far as their good name. That's what it should jeopardize. But the other stuff, I mean, you gave up a 29-point lead. And I had to, I woke up at 3:20 this morning. I wake up, I see it. I start scrambling. I go, what the hell? Because I figured you would be awake during that game. I just figured you got into the cups and that was it, and you would be ready to go. And I go, oh my God, I gotta catch up. I gotta catch up with this. And it just seemed to me in the second half, and again, I'm playing catch up on that this morning, was you miss shots. It is a game of runs. Guys start to hit shots on the other side. There's a bigger question of this I'm going to get to in just a second when it comes to Cavs fans and Cleveland fans in general about this game. But I did not like of what I saw. Boy, a lot of hurried shots, a lot of rush shots when you're up by double digits like that. And then the Knicks just took advantage of the woes of the Spurs. And here again, you got another one of these stupid games. I mean, Karl Anthony Towns is in foul trouble like in the first couple of minutes of the basketball game, for crying out loud. And it's another one of these stupid games where I want to give the Knicks their proper respect. You got to hit shots. They're clearly a talented team. They clearly don't give up on anything. They're playing hard as hell. I mean, they're everything you want in a basketball team. I hate to say it. But my God, when you're coming back from 29 down in one series and 22 down in another, where is your horseshoe? What back pocket is that horseshoe in? Now, that being said, that's just jealousy and bitterness out of me. I'll let that be known for the record. All those other things I said, those things are true. There is some jealousy and bitterness because I'm going, this should be, I was like, all right, great series. I got something to get into this weekend. Going to be great. Going back to San Antonio. It's a 2-2 series. This is going to be awesome. And then it's 3-1, and I go, it's the same thing that we did in game one. How the hell, to me, it's over. How the hell do you respond to something like that?
And I don't think it's over at all.
I'll tell you this. For the Spurs, real quick, if you're going to lose this series, you might as well lose game 5 because you don't want to lose and then be back in New York and have to get on the bus and have to get out of there. Well, it will be...
Yeah, they get to come home.
It will be Caligula outside that arena.
Every single one of these games has been in the balance. Late in these games, they've all, potentially could have gone... The Spurs could just as easily be up 3-1, and instead they're down 3-1. At least they go home. I did want to ask you, everyone,
ask me.
Do you think more people are going to focus on the choke job or the amazing comeback? What do you think people are going to focus on? Especially knowing, national media, a lot of them are out of New York.
29-point lead. Well, let's see. Charles Barkley's part of national media. He ripped him up and down in the post. Here's Charles Barkley, ESPN on Inside the NBA.
We saw the dumbest basketball team in the history of civilization.
Oh, wow.
We saw they had a 25-point lead, took eight straight threes. They thought to get, that was some of the most mismanaged, stupid basketball. Hey, When you blow a 29-point lead, the other team has to help you. The San Antonio Spurs help the New York Knicks win this game by doing some of the stupid-ass stuff I've ever seen on a basketball court.
All right, I asked you a question during that clip from Charles Barkley, because I've heard it before with Jeff earlier today, and I heard it when I woke up. How deep does New York usually go this season historically in their rotation? Because they played 12. You said they played 12 guys last night, and I go, well, did they just assume that New York was going to play out the string and empty the bench, and we'll see you in Game 5? Is that what the Spurs assumed?
Well, I don't know if it's that. I know that Wemby was gassed, and his conditioning has been something people have been paying attention to, because basically the Spurs get out to a lead every game in the playoffs, like almost against everybody, because Wemby's there. They've got their starting five. And then as the game wears on, doesn't mean that Wemby hasn't had some good fourth quarters, but it's just a lot of specimen. It's like the one alien thing we can't check off with him, that he can't go forever. He just can't. Especially, I mean, the Knicks returned the dirtiness. Like, remember the game before, it was all about how dirty the Spurs were. This was the Knicks. I mean, Alvarado was taking out his legs. There were like a football clip play on one. Ironically, it was Wemby who did eventually get called for a flagrant later, which adds his total up. But it's been like they were feisty from the jump, and then the Knicks were just going after the officials the entire first half. I mean, their fans. I thought they were just going to run on the floor. I'm like, I don't know what's a more dangerous spot for the officials in this game. Is it on the MSG floor? Or is it outside of MSG? I wasn't sure. So it was. I do think that got to Wemby, and you saw he missed 2 free throws.
Have you seen the videos of the Spurs going back into their hotel?
No.
You should go look that up. Wemby got egged last night.
Wait.
Someone threw an egg and hit him in the head.
He's a big target.
Yes.
7-4, you better be able to hit him.
Wait, this really happened?
This really happened. I thought it was an AI video. No, I've seen multiple angles now.
Oh, God. Well, it's something we don't condone. That is incredible. All right, so I wanted to play this for you. Here's Stephon Castle after the game, after the Spurs choke job. It's a choke job, 29 points. I mean, good God, call it a comeback all you want. That's a choke job. I want you to listen very closely to this, because he's being compared to somebody else that we know very, very well.
Coach Mitch said it best. We pretty much dictated the winner and loser of all these games. And I think just us finishing games and trying to maintain our leads has been tough for us.
He says that they have dictated the pace of these games. And already I saw last night a lot of the fans, a lot of the people I follow, a lot of the Knicks media /fans that I know are comparing him to Kenny Atkinson in the analytics, which I think is maybe a little bit of a stretch, but I just wanted to ask you on what you thought. Because I heard Sam Mitchell, the former coach, on NBA radio earlier this morning, and he was saying, "Oh yeah, I mean, you could always make an argument that this could be it should be a San Antonio 3-1 lead," which sounds. I'm not ripping him for it.
Well, I said it.
But when you hear what Castle says,
they could very easily.
Exactly. So when you hear what Castle says, though, you and Coach Sam Mitchell saying it are totally different from a guy who's currently on that team saying it. And so there's been some comparisons going, man, everybody just keeps making excuses for themselves, losing to us. That's the New York Knicks media. So I wanted to ask you, does this soften things or cover for the Cavs?
No.
Because this is more.
It doesn't.
What? Now, why? Because I think in the national scheme of things, I want to see the reaction of it and whether or not Kenny Atkinson stays in the national conversation. For us, it doesn't. Nobody. We don't care about the Spurs' problems. We care about our problems. Kenny saying that, I mean, really came off silly. And I know he didn't mean to be insulting, but it is insulting to a Cavs fan. And I don't think it covers in this town. But do you think it covers nationally because it's a bigger stage? It is more points. It's all there for you. And I'm just looking for a way to get out of the national spotlight of my coach saying, yeah, analytically, we're up 2-1 in this series. I hated it.
The only thing I would say is that, obviously, we're dealing with a crazy, historical, never-give-up team in the Knicks, and that's how it's more going to be portrayed. We'll be one of the rungs of that story. Like when they have the documentary about the Knicks, if they pull this off and win the championship.
Oh, you better bet your ass they will.
That game one will be a major rung. But then after that, it'll focus, hyper-focus, obviously, on the series and what's happening now. And it's just, it's a testament to the Knicks. It's just, I don't think this is getting Kenny Atkinson off the hook anytime soon. I mean, the funny thing is, it's an even bigger come from behind and all of that. But none of this is making me feel better about my situation at all. I wish it did, but it just, I did see people texting me. They're like, oh, people owe Kenny Atkinson an apology. And I'm like,
I don't know. No, we don't owe Kenny Atkinson anything.
That's not going to make me feel any better.
No.
This offseason.
Do I know the person who sent that to you?
It's just a buddy.
Okay, because that's silly wishful thinking. If I would have known that person, I'd have texted him and said, no, that you're being wishful. Joel Bitonio coming up at 6:40. Is it bad we don't have this other situation figured out here yet? I've seen some people saying it's bad, and I go, bad for who? Is it bad for our situation at the quarterback position? Is it bad that Todd Monken doesn't know? Did you want Todd Monken to be more assertive in who that quarterback should be? Which one is it bad for? Because I don't get a great feeling. I want to see Shedeur play. Now, I might throw people for a loop coming up at 7:01, but I want to see Shedeur play, yes. But also, I don't think that this is necessarily bad for Todd Monken. I think that if you're looking at anything, yeah, probably Deshaun Watson. No, there's no probably about it. Deshaun Watson would have the leg up going into an OTA, going into a minicamp. If he's not seized that position, I don't want to go into training camp trying to force square pegs into round holes here. You got to find the best quarterback possible. Now, there's those saying it's just not a good situation for either quarterback, or our situation, us as fans, that either quarterback can't seize that moment. That, to me, is what I'm more likely to agree with there, Anthony. I don't think it's an indictment on Todd Monken. I think it's more, if you're indicting anybody, I think it's more on the quarterbacks.
No, it's not on Monken at all. It's the quarterbacks. And, yeah, his job is to rescue this team and that room from the abyss and one of the worst quarterback rooms in the NFL. But as we know, there's only so much a coach can do. Like, there's only so much an organization can do. And if the quarterbacks aren't good enough, you can try to build up the offensive line. You can try to add weapons. But in the end, if the quarterbacks just flat out aren't good enough, you're going to lose a bunch of games. Your offense isn't going to be good. There's only so much you can do. Like, we know Kyle Shanahan does everything he can to make life as easy as possible on the quarterbacks. And then eventually, Jimmy Garoppolo's in the Super Bowl, has a chance to win in the fourth quarter, and eventually moves on from him. Even McVay and Goff, eventually you're moving on. The Goff's on this level of where these quarterbacks are right now. Mm-hmm. But eventually, you can only do so much, and then eventually you move on.
There's no way you can feel better. Do you feel worse because of the reports that you've heard out of minicamp at all? Do you feel worse?
You're talking to somebody who had a very...
The season I'm talking about,
yeah,
too.
you're talking to somebody who just assumed this is what it was going to be going into the season. So
that's fine.
I did not have expectations that these quarterbacks were going to be, resurgent. So
we have a short segment coming up. We have Daryl. I want you guys to hear Daryl coming up here in just a few moments. We got Joel Bitonio, 6:40 on the Fan. Former, now retired Browns guard. Mary Kay Cabot coming up at 8:20. You're going to have to hear Daryl, because every camp, the dangerous one turns into a mean one. And, oh, my God. Mr. Ryder was a mean one yesterday. We'll play it for you in 5 on the Fan.
Anthony Lima for Van Scoy Hair. The beauty of meeting up with Todd Van Scoy, the hair guru of Northeast Ohio, is you are going to get personalized solutions for your...
Early morning issues for folks on the east side, I-90 eastbound. There's some problems because of an accident just beyond State Route 91. Jeff Thomas, Odyssey Cleveland traffic.
There's only one place to hear breaking Browns news. This is the radio home of the Cleveland Browns, 92.3 The Fan.
Joel Bitonio coming up at 6:40. Former Browns guard, just retired Browns guard. He picked the time. He actually wanted to go earlier. I go, well, I just want to give you a little bit of time to get up in the morning. He goes, no, we can go earlier. The 6:40. Okay, fine. That's Joel. So the ones who were saying, let him sleep in, he's retired. I go, no, he ain't sleeping in. He picked the time here. We got a Browns quarterback competition, if we want to call it that. Shedeur doesn't want to call it that. More on him saying that coming up here in a little bit. We have a competition going on, and it might be a race to the bottom. We'll ask Mary Kay about this coming up at 8:22 this morning. Daryl Ryder, not very impressed, to say the least. Here is the Dangerous One's first thoughts yesterday. His internal on Deshaun's internal conversations with the Browns. This is Daryl's first thoughts on that.
They invested $230 million in him, so not all that surprised. I hope he plays better than does press conferences, though, because today was not one of those days. His press conference was better than his day on the practice field. But not a surprise. They got him on the practice field last year for the 4-week stretch for putting him on the shelf for the rest of the season there. From his standpoint, all you can ask for at this point is an opportunity, and the Browns are giving him that. It's kind of on him what he does with the opportunity from there.
Ooh, little surly from Daryl there. Told you that hair was bopping yesterday, man. He was.
Yeah, I don't know if it was the heat, the humidity, or what, but Daryl, not so impressed with what he saw yesterday out of the quarterbacks. And really, it seemed to be worse from Watson, but he basically said neither. Very inspiring.
Well, here is Daryl a little bit further about the minicamp performance, specifically about Deshaun Watson.
What did you see from Deshaun Watson today on the field, and include yesterday as well?
Oof. I mean, if he's the lead dog in this race, I don't know if that says more about how far behind Shedeur is or just what a interesting season we'll be in for, I think is how I will put it. He'll throw a beautiful ball on one throw and then the next throw miss a receiver by 5 yards. It's the way she goes. I honestly don't know what to make of it. It's not a surprise Todd Monken's not naming a starting quarterback after this mini camp. This thing's going to go into training camp, and I have no idea when he's going to be able to name a starter.
If they're both going to be bad, I am fine with him not naming a starter. I know he wanted to name a starter. I know he wanted to have a starter by the time training camp started along. If they're both not going to be great for him, then I got no problem waiting into training camp. It concerns me. It would concern me if this team had real expectations.
Well, that's the thing.
A team that has a competition doesn't really have real expectations.
Yeah, why would it concern you that much? And what was your honest expectation going into the year?
Just because it always, I think the history as a Browns fan is playing into it, where these things just always end up off the rails. And like the whole thing about, I remember when we drafted Taylor Green, and you and I had conversations, and we had a bitter argument about Taylor Green, and there were a bunch of people going, "Why are you guys arguing about Taylor Green?" I'm going, "You guys really don't think he's going to play at all this year? You don't think he's going to start a game this year? Considering you guys have all been Browns fans as long as we've been Browns fans, he's not going to play?" And that plays into it because the season probably isn't going to go to where we want it to go. It might go exactly where some people want it to go, depending on what they think about the college quarterbacks in this year's class. But it's not going to go where we want it to go, more than likely. And my whole goal of it is I want to see Todd Monken be as consistent as possible and be as innovative and open-minded as possible to make me feel better about the direction of the team. Because I don't want to get to the end of a season that could end up being a slog here if we're looking at both quarterbacks and not very excited about either one at minicamp. I don't want to get to the end of it and all of a sudden it's on Todd Monken now. I don't want to do that. I don't want to be looking for new coaches. It startled me when they traded Myles Garrett last week, and there were plenty of people wanting to go, well, Todd Monken's David Culley now. He's one and done. I go, no, please no. I mean, if it happens, it happens. I've seen crazier things in the NFL, and I've seen crazier things from the Browns, but that really is my goal. I want to maintain some semblance of consistency and some standard here with this team, because you do have good young other players, and that means that if you were going to do something crazy, we're talking about crazy different messages in a short amount of time. That tends to confuse people. I don't want that to happen.
Well, I guess I never understood. Yeah, in a dream world, it would be nice to have your starting QB carved out. But if you go around the league and say, who's got their starting quarterback carved out already, we know the depth chart, we know the pecking order around the NFL. Like, it's all the teams that, don't have a quarterback competition. But the ones that would have a quarterback competition at this point, like, yeah, why would we think we could decide who the better quarterback is before they even put their pads on, before they even really face a pass rush? I mean, that's the one thing I notice in all these videos of any of the deep balls getting hit. Of course, you're not seeing highlights of all the incompletions, of which there seem to be a lot of too, or just bad throws in general. I know what the trackers state, but a lot of this.
By the way, credit to Daniel Yafusi. Credit. I saw the social media posts on X brought to you by
Shivan Jewelers, Cleveland's premier jewelry store.
He dissolved himself of any responsibility for the quarterback trackers. Like, I have nothing to do with that.
Yeah, I'm just
credit to Daniel Yafusi.
I'm just saying, like, this is supposed to be the easiest of easy right now. I mean, I know you're familiarizing yourself with the language, and you're figuring out the cadence, trying to figure out even who the center is. So, you've got to take snaps and all that and trying to know who the wide receivers are. But as far as, like, the throws, it's only going to get tougher.
Yeah.
And if these guys are having trouble now, like, it does stand to reason that this is going to be a bit of a mess as we get into training camp. So why not just wait? Why not just wait and see, whether or not the cream rises to the top or somebody wins by default? Well, either way, like, I never understood the rush to get this settled now
What do you think you would say to either one of these guys after today? Because after today, they go home. They go home for the next 5-6 weeks. They come back. I'm sure Shedeur will be in town. I don't know what Deshaun Watson will do. That's not a shot. I'm serious.
Yeah,
it seems that Shedeur just stays around here and hangs out and
Deshaun
and
seems
works
to be
out here.
everywhere but here.
Yeah. I don't know if there's an F1 race coming up somewhere around the world that he can go see. I haven't been able to keep up since they switched to Apple TV.
I will say this for Watson, and I know what his QB guru, his personal coach, Quincy Avery, is that his name?
Yeah.
Like, if we're seeing the mechanics be this bad, maybe Deshaun needs to stay here and work with somebody else.
Possibly,
because
yes.
If those mechanics are still this bad, what I am being told by the people that are there every day and covering them is his athleticism is back. And I'm like, whoa, okay, I did not expect that. You heard him talk yesterday about not being 100%, but if that athleticism is back and we just have to work on mechanics, then we better be going over that stuff like crazy, because then you could maybe salvage something here.
Well, I told you, a lot of that athleticism seemed to already be back at the end of the year last year, and I know they kept him out for precautionary reasons, whatever. But I told you what I saw, and what I saw was a hell of an athlete. But when it comes to mechanics, some of that stuff is explainable. Now, this isn't an excuse. You know who I want to start the season with, but I want him to do it the right way, and I will get into that coming up at 7:01 after we talk to Joel Bitonio coming up at 6:40. But when it comes to Deshaun, some of that is explainable. Timing is something different. Now, you could work out with Jerry Jeudy and do some of those things during the offseason, like we've seen some of it, but you got other wide receivers you're throwing to as well. And you got two rookies that you're throwing to as well, in Denzel Boston and KC Concepcion. So your steps are going to be different. Your timing is going to be different. The offensive line is different. There's so many things that are different. What both of these guys have to do is take what they've seen here over this course of time, over minicamp, over OTAs, and apply it to their workouts over the next 5 to 6 weeks so they can hit the ground running. Because this is still going to be an open competition for these guys. I'll talk more to Mary Kay. We will talk more about this with Mary Kay coming up at 8:20 this morning. 5 minutes away, Browns legend Joel Bitonio, recently retired. What a career it's been. I want to ask him a few pointed questions about it. Ken Carman, Anthony Lima on the Fan. Peter and Company Jewelers in Avon Lake. PeterJewelers.com. Go out and get that diamond ring today. And get it for less at Peter and Company Jewelers. Get it with the better help when it comes to the family of Peter and Company Jewelers. And do it with all the ease that you could possibly think of. And
Listen to The Fan Rewind weeknights 11 to midnight. All the best segments from all our shows, and you can always listen on the Odyssey app. Headline sports news every 20 minutes right here on 92.3 The Fan. From the University Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Jeff Thomas.
I sat next to John Greco in meetings. He taught me how to be a pro, take notes the right way, and play guard in the NFL. I was drafted the same year as Johnny Manziel, and we actually roomed together. I learned some things not to do from him.
That's Joel Bitonio the other day as he announced his retirement over at the facility. 12 years in the NFL, multiple-time Pro Bowler, All-Pro, now Browns legend. He joins us right now on the Wise Heart Right, We Make It Right, Call Kyle Wright hotline. Joel, good morning to you. Congratulations on a sterling career.
Thank you. Morning. Thanks for having me on.
I just want to clarify for everybody, you picked this time you actually wanted to do earlier. I tweeted, I know you're not on social media. That's probably why we're going to ask you some of the pointed questions we're going to ask you. I caught so much hell for you coming on at 6:40 this morning. They go, let him sleep in. He's retired. I said he picked the time.
I actually saw that tweet. I saw you. I was going to defend you, but then I'm like, I don't really tweet anyway.
No, you
so
don't.
I'll let the people know. I told him 6:30, and we decided on 6:40. I got young kids. You know, we're up anyway. Like this is normal time for me. I'll maybe sneak a nap in with my youngest a little bit later, but I'm up and ready to go.
Yeah, I think people hear retirement and they think, he's got to be in his 70s and he gets to do whatever he wants, go to the golf course every day. It's like, no, you have young kids. You're going to be up every morning, no matter what.
Yep.
Oh yeah. There'll be some more golf, but I will be up and I will be ready to go with the kids.
When did you think you had this decision made? In honesty, was it before last year? Did you? I've heard of some guys that kind of pinpoint going, you know what, 2017 is what I'm calling it a career. Like I've heard that in the past before. When did you know?
I never got that specific. I thought about it the year before, right? Like when I really was talking about it, I was like, man, like this was tough on my body this year. Like, you know, how is the team going to look? And then I had a year left of my contract, and I was like, I want to play this thing out. You know, I still have more football left in me. So going into this last year, I was pretty confident that this was going to be my last year, but I didn't want to guarantee anything. I didn't want to go on like a retirement tour either. You know, by the time we were playing the last game of the season, I was like 99% sure. I flew my whole family out, like agent, everybody was there. So I told him, like, I think this is it, guys. You know, let's make it happen. And then you play football for so long. I wanted to make sure. I never wanted to do like the Brett Favre where I retire in January and then, you know, come August, it's like, hey guys, I want to play football again. I just wanted to, you know, make sure I was good with my decision.
Was anybody though, Joel, kind of saying as the season was getting closer, like, hey, you're looking in good shape, and maybe your agent could see that maybe there's another paycheck there for him. Maybe there could be some other teams that could show some interest, maybe contenders. Was that ever part of the thought process, or you just knew it was time?
Well, like for me, like I said, I knew it was time, but yes, I definitely had some conversations. A lot of, you know, my agent obviously was like, take your time, and it was never forced, but he's just like, just make sure the decision. He's like, if you want an opportunity to play for the Browns or for another team, like they're out there, you know? And so I've had some ex-coaches that I've talked to once, you know, I was officially like a free agent that were like, hey, if you want to keep playing, like there was never any like huge pressure, but there was definitely some opportunities that were like, if you wanted to look into, you know, but I was ready. You know, you don't realize, like, playing in the games is one thing, but, like, at this point in your career, getting ready for the games, like, preparing, lifting, conditioning, all those things take a toll on the body. And, like, to get to the level that I wanted to play at, I just didn't have that in me anymore. And the hard part is, like, you see these D linemen that play, like, 20 years, and by the end of their career, they get to play, like, 20 snaps a game. But if you're an offensive lineman and you want to be a guy, a starter, like you're still playing 60 to 70 snaps a game. There's never any time you can just be like, all right, I'm going to rotate out for, you know, a series here or there. So I could never just be fully committed again. And that was kind of the decision.
Joel, would it have mattered at all if there were expectations for the team? If on paper they were one of the Super Bowl contenders, would that have mattered to you?
You know, it's hard because I talk about my body and how it feels. I do think when you win more games, like the body starts to feel a little bit better, right? Like you're like, oh, the knee's not quite as bad. Maybe we went to the playoffs last year, or like you said, we're predicted to potentially, make a Super Bowl run. There could be a question because I kind of talked about it in my speech. That was the one thing I had left was to try and win a Super Bowl. Everybody's goal. And so there could have been some convincing, but at the end of the day, it was, again, like a really a body decision.
What we had Joe on, and right after he retired, right after he made his announcement. This is years ago, obviously, and he had described to us for the first time ever. He had talked about there was a game that he got in his truck after they had lost. He was leaving the stadium. He was with his wife. And he said he just broke down. He absolutely broke down. What was the hardest moment for you in your 12 years here in Cleveland? Because, you got to see some greatness, and obviously there were a couple of times where things were pretty lean.
Yeah, that stretch of football, my second, third, fourth year where we were kind of 3-13, 1-15, 0-16 was brutal. But I was so young, like I didn't even realize in the moment how bad things were. I was just like, I want to be the best I can be. Like, I'm just going to keep playing hard. Like, obviously you want to get paid. All those things were still on my mind. So those were probably the worst football we played, but it wasn't ever like as bad. One of the toughest moments, I think, when we went to Houston for the playoffs, like that was such a great year. I felt like so much momentum, and then we went in there and kind of laid a dud. You know what I mean? And I got a high ankle sprain that game, like a bad high ankle sprain. And I was just sitting in the locker after that game, and I was like, crap, like, was that my chance? Was that my last chance, like, to make a run here, and try and win a Super Bowl? And so that was pretty crushing. Last year was frustrating at times when we started, but then I looked at it, like halfway through the season last year, I realized how young, like, our offense was and, like, the skill position players and things like that. So I tried to turn around, but I would say that Houston playoff where, it's like, was this my last chance to make a playoff push?
Did you have your mind made up before the Myles Garrett announcement of the trade?
Yeah, we well, I told you end of the year I was like 99%, but I had already told AB pretty much before free agency because we signed a bunch of linemen. But then, like, the decision to actually make the announcement was probably about 6 to 8 weeks ago. But finding a date for, like, myself, my family, the Haslams, AB, and the media to all work took, like, 4 weeks to find. So we had already picked the date in our head and when we were going to announce, and then obviously the Myles stuff. So I had no clue, that was going down.
You are what, 35 or 34?
34.
You're going to live probably another 40, 50 years. What do you plan to do with your life's work now after this?
That's a great question. I was so, like, I know a lot of guys have these, like, grand plans, like, right when they're done. I was so invested in football and playing the game and playing with my family. I don't have, like, a professional plan. Hopefully I'll play some more golf and lose a little bit of weight and enjoy some family time. I'm not sure, the exact professional thing. I think we'll find a passion that I'm into and keep going. And I love football. I don't think I want to be a coach timing wise, but being involved in the game would be awesome, and kind of picking and choosing what adventures you want to take.
Did Joe Thomas lose too much weight, and are you worried that you're going to look too much like that? You still want to preserve, the Joel Bitonio physique.
And I think if I lose more than, like, if I'm less than, like, 270, 275, my head is going to look disproportionately massive on my body. So my goal is to get down to about 280, 275 and see how I look. And I'm going to make sure my wife and my friends tell me, like, hey, is this too skinny? And I love food too much. I enjoy food. Like, I'm not going to be able to be like, no, I don't want that ice cream. You know what I mean? So we'll see where it goes. I've lost a little bit so far, and I'm not in, like, the huge cut phase like Joe ever was. But, yeah, I think there is a limit for a guy my size to how much weight I can lose.
Joel, I'm 5 years older than you. This is a dangerous thing. I'm telling you right now. I just want to let you know, like, the ice cream, you want to have a little bit of ice cream, that's fine, but just don't overdo it, okay? Because once you put it on, it's hard to take it off, brother.
Okay. I'll just have a bite of the kids' ice cream.
Yeah, if you don't got the workouts going, it's hard to take it off. The Hall of Fame has been a big issue with a lot of fans. I mean, 7-time Pro Bowl, you were a multiple-time All-Pro. I wish the Pro Bowl still meant what it used to mean, when you first started hitting Pro Bowls. Now us in the media, we make it a joke, and the media votes for it. I hate to say it when it comes to the Hall of Fame. So for you, I know your answer was there the other day, but if it comes down to Hall of Fame eligibility, do you find yourself participating in that, or are you just like, you know what, we're good, that's it, 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now, it doesn't matter, it's been a great career?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, I put it all out there, right? Like I did what I could. I'm proud of my accomplishments that I had in this league. And kind of like I mentioned, like there's just not very many guards and centers in the Hall of Fame, right? Like I think if you look at accolades across all positions, like 7 Pro Bowls, 5 All-Pros, how I, hopefully carried myself off the field, on the field, winning or losing, like I think, you look at like Hall of Fame requirements, and I feel like that matches, but it's the best of the best. And so for linemen, like a lot of times you need Super Bowls, or you need a Zach Martin, Joe Thomas career where it's like, this guy had 10, Pro Bowls and 8 All-Pros. And so it's kind of out of my control. But I do continue to say, like, if we're looking at the best of the best and, you get a receiver or a running back or someone, these guys are stat guys. They're fantasy football players, and they're great players. But they end up with, 5 Pro Bowls, 1 All-Pro, and things like that. I think there's a comparison you can make and look at and be like, all right, can we add a few more guards and centers? And not just myself, but overall, like I see guys that I played with. But if you look at like the best guards of the last 10 to 15 years, like, can you make a list? That's, my generation of football.
Mm-hmm.
I think you can make the case, that I'm up there with a lot of those guys.
No, you're
so
in there.
See.
You're in there.
I'm not gonna stress about it. Like you said, I'm gonna enjoy it, and if it comes one day, I will be, forever grateful. But I'm satisfied with what I did on the field.
You're a humble guy. You're in there. You are. You're in that generation of guys. It is tough. I hate to say it because I've always been asked about it. It's been talked about on the show, and you get around it, I go, if they just would have went to the playoffs more, I think you'd be a shoo-in. But I mean, it's not like you're. I can't see a situation where you walk around Cleveland, Ohio, in 10, 15, 20, 25 years from now, and people don't recognize you. I mean, that's the beauty of the city and the beauty of the love of the fan with the fan base that has with the team, is that you're always going to be welcome back here, and there's always going to be situations here where people love you here.
Yeah, no, I'm forever thankful for that. I mean, the people have been nothing but great to me and my family. Really, the outpour too after you retire, like you hear from people that you had maybe 1 interaction with or 2 interactions with, and they, remember the story so vividly and just appreciate your time here and what, you did with the community. So it is pretty cool community, man. 12 years of my life, like, has been in Cleveland, Ohio with the Browns fans, and I've really enjoyed the ride. And like, I think that's a really cool thing, especially this day and age, like being a Brown for life. Like, do I wish we won some more games? Of course, but those wins that we had, going through the losses, that I had early in my career, made it so much better. Being in those locker rooms after some of those victories were what I'll always cherish and always remember.
All right, so now we're talking to Joel Bitonio right now, somebody who, we've talked about, Ring of Honor. We've talked about what they could do with the Cleveland Browns. But now officially, whether you like it or not, you're an analyst for life, and you can say whatever you want about the Browns. You don't have to walk on eggshells. How do you feel about, this next iteration of the Browns? How close are you going to be following it, the way they're building the offensive line? Then we've got to get you on record, because we're doing it with everybody, who the quarterback should be.
Yeah, I'm, I had a nice conversation with AB just on, the culture and the framework of what they've been putting together. I think the young core, really the core now, because all the old guys are kind of gone. But the young guys and the young core that they have are just like the right people and the right football players that you want in place. And you keep acquiring talent like that. Like, I think eventually the team, starts to win more games. like I've talked about before, the quarterback is the most important position in the NFL. And I think it shows year after year, like the teams that win these Super Bowls or playing for Super Bowls consistently, there's one-offs that make a run, but consistently are teams with great quarterbacks. And so I think that's the ultimate goal is the Browns have to find one. And is it Shedeur, right? Like, is his big plays from last year, is he going to be consistent enough to make those things? And I can't pretend I've watched OTAs or understand what's happening. I'm a fan now too. I get to see the quarterback tracker and what guys are doing. But Deshaun's back out there and playing as well. And like, is he going to have a resurgence? His mindset sounded good, in the interview and all those things. So, I don't have a quarterback that I'm going to pick. I just want the best one for the team. Like, cause that is the most important position, that you can have in the NFL. And I think once you get that position with the culture that is being built by the Browns, with some of these young guys, I think it could be a very, special team in a year or two.
Joel, thank you so much for the time. Enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the rest of your life. Obviously, we'll talk to you again as soon as we possibly can, my friend. Take care. Congratulations again.
Yeah, appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Joel Bitonio, Browns legend. On the Wise Heart Right, we make a right call, Kyle Right hotline. For a second, I thought he was going to pick a quarterback, and then he was judicious.
I'm worried. Is Greco going to drop down the power ranking of our go-tos when we talk offensive line now? We've got Joe Thomas. We've got Greco. How are we going to deal with adding yet another big name into the mix?
Into the what? The media mix?
Yeah.
I don't know what he's going to do.
It doesn't matter. Listen,
Joe and John still pay attention. Joel.
It doesn't matter. We're going to call on him.
It's like you named your kids all with the J, and it's hard to keep it together. With Joel, we'll see. We'll see what he wants to do. I mean, if he goes, some guys, they end up out there, man. Out there. And so we'll see what he wants. All right, big thanks to Joel Bitonio for joining us on the show. Coming up at 8:20, Mary Kay Cabot. Speaking of Hall of Famers, Mary Kay Cabot going to join us on the show. We'll talk to her. There was one thing that Joel had just said about that rotation that I like about the offensive line. And if they're both that bad, then you got to play Shedeur, is what I would say if I didn't really care about Shedeur. Ken Carman, Anthony Lima on The Fan.
This is
offseason by following the Browns playlist and 92.3 The Fan on the Odyssey app. Headline sports news every 20 minutes right here on 92.3 The Fan. From the University Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Jeff Thomas.
Your day isn't complete unless you know how Cleveland fits into the national sports scene. The Afternoon Drive. Weekdays starting at 2. 92.3 The Fan.
"18 minutes away, did Deshaun Watson tip off that he already knows who won the quarterback job?" I'm serious. I'm very serious about that. He might have tipped you off yesterday. It's the first time you heard from him in 20 months, which, as Lima always said, and Lima was right, no matter the sport, no matter the city, no matter the team, when it comes to post-practice press conferences, you will always hear a truck backing up. We had a trifecta yesterday. There was rain during Deshaun Watson's press conference, as well as lawn machinery and a truck backing up. First time in 20 months. It's all going to happen. It doesn't matter. You could be at Barcelona. You're going to hear a truck backing up at a post-practice press conference.
I'm sorry.
It's impossible not.
Next time there'll be a marching band.
Yes. Anything at all. And when it comes to baseball, post-game, there's always dishes being thrown around somewhere, music in the background. If it's in a clubhouse, there's always something in the background to take away from.
One-man band.
I heard Joel Batonio was great with us. I did like the answer about the rotation.
Yeah.
I brought it with you guys last year. That was one of the things I could not stand. There were, guys. Yeah, I like Kevin. Lima likes me, and I like Lima. You think we don't sit there and criticize each other? We criticize each other behind each other's backs, and we certainly have no problem doing it to each other's faces. So, yeah, he's the head coach of my favorite football team, or he was the head coach of my favorite football team. I was going to be critical of that. I thought he handled the offensive line like garbage last year. I thought it was ridiculous, and if I were a Falcon fan, I'd be looking at that very closely because I hated that. And when Joel said what he said about, well, you can't just with an offensive line, you got a defensive lineman out there, 15, 20 snaps, you can rotate it. When it comes to an offensive lineman, he's like, you can't just really do that. I go, exactly right. They don't do that. As Joel had said in the interview with us just moments ago.
And the hard part is, you see these D linemen that play 20 years, and by the end of their career, they get to play 20 snaps a game. But if you're an offensive lineman and you want to be a guy, a starter, you're still playing 60 to 70 snaps a game. There's never any time you can just be like, all right, I'm going to rotate out for a series here or there. So I could never just be fully committed again, and that was kind of the decision.
Yeah, to do that was asinine last year, and I thought it was an indication of what they really thought of the quarterbacks because you wouldn't do that in front of Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes, no matter where they were in their careers. You wouldn't have done that in front of Baker Mayfield in his career, unless you absolutely had to because you were forced to because of injuries and the backups weren't that good, but the guy who was starting was good enough to go for at least a little bit of time. But that dead horse is beaten to death. I hope everybody knows about that, so we move right on. Neither quarterback have been good. Neither quarterback have been good. According to a lot of the pundits who've been there. Shedeur Sanders was asked a question about it. I liked the answer, even though it raised a lot of media eyebrows. I liked the answer about this quarterback competition where he considers it just practice.
I think the way how y'all look at things is different than how we look at things. We look at coming to practice every day being the best player we can be as an individual and as a good teammate. Y'all look at it as a competition. It's that's not really nothing I'm just focused on. I'm focused on developing as a player, doing everything, getting as comfortable as I can in the offense and the scheme, and playing with that confidence I had. So I think that's all I'm really looking for and trying to improve every day, whether it's mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. I'm just trying to be a better person every day. And wherever that falls into place, it'll fall into place.
You have J.J. McCarthy up there in Minnesota, who's meaner than a rattlesnake when it comes to this conversation about him competing with Kyler Murray. And he's been downright nasty, it seems, to the media about the competition with Kyler Murray. See, there's a difference here. Because I know that some of the people get on it and go, well, here goes Ken making excuses for Shedeur. Of course it's a competition. What do you mean? You don't want to compete? No. You got to remember. Deshaun Watson, it was out of sight, out of mind for us last year. He was not really around it. For him, we had Mary Kay write about it. Multiple people wrote about it. He's in the locker room. He's traveling with the team now. He's working with Shedeur. He knew he wasn't going to play at all last year. He was working with Shedeur, helping Shedeur. Shedeur's not just going to turn that off. Yes, it is. I know what he's saying, and I know that we look at it and go, hey, only one can play the position, friend. Only one. There's only one quarterback out there. So it's either you or him. So it's a competition. It's pro football. But for him, I don't think he sees it that way. I think he sees him as a buddy, a teammate, a guy who helped him last year as best he could, and that he's not going to sit there and turn this all of a sudden into something nasty if he can help it. J.J. McCarthy, he didn't know Kyler Murray before all this. J.J. McCarthy's been there for 2 years. 2 years or 3 years? 2 years going into year 3. And they've brought in Kyler Murray, and he's mad about all this stuff. That's a competition. That's nasty. Guys who you bring in, that can be nasty. Shedeur has a relationship with this guy. So I can understand where he's saying, yeah, you guys call it a competition, for us it's practice. But for Daryl and a lot of other people, like Zach's been on the station, Daryl's been on the station, Petrak's been on the station, all the people who've been there. Mary Kay, she's coming on again today at 8:20. And they've said, well, neither quarterback has really stood out, and maybe Shedeur has gotten himself back into the mix here because Deshaun Watson has struggled so much, even though I think Deshaun might have tipped his hand on some things coming up, and we'll play that at 7:22. And my first thought was, man, if they're both bad, just play the kid. Just play Shedeur. Is that putting him in the best spot? I want Shedeur to know the offense as best as possible. It's never going to be perfect. I want Shedeur to be in the best position possible for this. Because it is easier. We talked about this a few weeks ago. It's easier to go from the veteran to the young guy in a season than it is to go from the young guy to the veteran, because it's going to be very, very, very hard unless there's an injury to go back to the young guy. So if they're both struggling, I actually think if I didn't care about Shedeur Sanders, and some people don't, they just go, you know what, I don't want to see Deshaun, or I just want to be entertained, just put him out there. Fair. But if I care about trying to develop any sort of a quarterback, we can't be so hung up on, and I'm going to make a lot of the Shedeur fans upset, you can't just be so hung up on he has to be the starter week 1. He has to be the starter week 1. You can get to week 1 and say Deshaun's the starter and have the best interest of Shedeur in mind. There's been a lot of change in a short period of time, and remember, they did not prepare him for the season last year, so he's still playing catch-up here. You got him caught up as best you could with the offense. He got caught up as best he could with the offense. Then you're changing the offense and changing the coaching staff around on him. It's continuously trying to catch up with everything. And if neither of them have been very good, now in my own eyes, we'll get to see it. But if neither of them have been very good, I'd rather take care of Shedeur instead of, well, throw him out there. Why? I demand to be entertained. We ain't going anywhere anyway, so I might as well be entertained, and I don't like talking about Deshaun Watson. I know in my heart that's not right of me to say.
Well, I think what he said was, to me, very, very healthy response. Like, I had no problem with the way he answered that question at all. I don't know how anybody would. Like, did you want him to come out and just sound like, vicious competitor right now at this stage? Maybe when we get into training camp, maybe it's different. If it's a legitimate
if there's
competition,
some sort of a falling out or anything like that, I have no idea. But
no, I'm not saying that. I'm saying once we get closer, this is still OTAs. They're not even wearing pads. They're not even really facing a pass rush. It's not like we've got the joint practices going yet. When that happens, like I need my guys to start envisioning themselves as a starting quarterback. Mm-hmm. That's how that works. Right now, we're still so far from it. What they have how many weeks off? After this, 5, 6 weeks?
Yeah, somewhere in there,
like,
5.5.
So this is very different, and I thought that was healthy. I think if you're going nuts right now, like I know there'll be some people say, I want my guy to be a competitor. Well, we don't really know what's in Shedeur's heart. I think he said the right thing for that occasion.
Yeah.
Obviously, we know the people that are around him that are tweeting every day and live on social media, they think it's a competition, and they are making it a competition, and they are doing everything they can to denigrate every last throw of Deshaun Watson's and prop up every single moment of Shedeur. That's not him. Now, I'm assuming they're working independent of him, and so I thought what I heard yesterday was great. He had another comment where I think he was a little preemptive and a little quick on the draw going after the media.
We'll get to that.
But what I heard there was totally fine, and to me, healthy.
If they both struggle, who should start?
I've said all along that the tie should go to Shedeur just because he's younger. But in the same, I don't want to make it sound like and talk out both sides of my mouth. I've also said, like, and been consistent, that I think it would be better for Shedeur to come off the bench with the new starting offensive line, such a young stable of weapons. Like, they're probably going to look worse at the start of the year than they will
at the end of the year.
Further along.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
I think it would be healthier for Shedeur to come off the bench. I know nobody wants to hear that because they want the Jackson Dart story from last year. Like, they want, hit the ground running, but he didn't start at the beginning of last year. So, his coach obviously got canned and his weapons got injured. But I think they want like the people in his corner, they want him to just be the starter because they never think he's going to relinquish it.
No.
You and I have seen enough Browns football and bad teams where we just assume he would relinquish it.
And once he gives up that job, because if he were to struggle, once he gives up that job, again, it's so hard to go back. And you can go back, you can do it, but I think it makes it harder. I think it's easier considering the change that's been done. And if I hear but like, I will be honest, when I hear about Deshaun struggling, I go, good, I want Shedeur to be the guy. I want Shedeur to be, that's my first visceral reaction. Not a good reaction, I understand that. But that's
you want him to seize it.
My first reaction. But I want him to take it, not just get it by default because, he's a younger guy and they're both struggling. That's not what I want. Does anybody disagree with us? 216-474-0092. And did Deshaun Watson give away what could possibly happen here in training camp yesterday? You got to hear what he had to say. Ken Carman, Anthony Lima on the Fan. Northeast Factor Direct and NortheastFactorDirect.com. I want you to go to their website.
University Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Jeff Thomas.
I'm great mentally. I'm in a great space. My home is good. Me and my wife is doing a heck of a job. Just working each and every day mentally to just stay on top of what we need to stay on top of. So I appreciate her. I appreciate the staff and the organization for always, having my back. Yeah, I'm in a good space, enjoying myself out here, enjoying my teammates and the new coaching staff. So I'm in a great space.
Deshaun Watson talking about his headspace. First time we've heard from him in 20 months.
What'd you think?
Thought it was fine. I had no big nastiness, no anger, no vitriol, no happiness. There was one little thing, though, that I thought that he might have given away there. Here's Deshaun Watson. And I want to know if you picked up the same thing. Some internal conversations about Deshaun.
So you said that you didn't have any doubts in your mind that you worried about never playing again. But I guess, were there any doubts about if you would get another chance in Cleveland to be the starting quarterback?
No. And that's just from internal conversations.
Did he just tell people he's going to start this year?
Well,
I didn't say week one. I mean, we'll find out. But maybe he did say week one there. What do you think he meant by that? Internal conversation.
See, that's the thing. It is so damn vague.
It is
the way
vague.
he used it there.
And
so
we got plenty of time to chew the fat.
I know a lot of people just jumped to, did they tell him he was going to start? And I just can't picture a world where it would make sense to tell him
So
he would
he's
start.
saying he has the chance to start is what he was trying to say. We could play it again if you want to.
Play it again.
We'll get that lined up just here in a second. Okay, here we go. Hit it.
So you said that you didn't have any doubts in your mind that you worried about never playing again. But I guess, were there any doubts about if you would get another chance in Cleveland to be the starting quarterback?
No. And that's just from internal conversations.
Never a doubt.
See, it's so weird because what we do know is Jimmy Haslam, has been on record talking about, what a disaster the trade was. And obviously we know they took down all the signs.
He was
and all
asked
that
about that yesterday, too. Here's his answer to the swing and miss from Haslam.
Thank you.
The relationship is great. D, Jimmy, they were at my wedding. We talk all the time. He calls me whenever. It happens and things like that. One of my favorite baseball players that I've been watching is Bryce Harper. Sometimes he swings, but he stands back up and he gets another opportunity and he hits a home run. So you never know what the opportunity might show up, and that's what I have right now.
Was it ironic at all that there was a truck backing up and was making the beat while he was talking about something that Jimmy Haslam said a while ago and how he might end up being the starter now this year? Just pointing that out.
I have to walk it back. So I didn't take it as he's been guaranteed anything. I think it's exactly what it is.
The opportunity.
He's got the chance
to
start again. And look at the quarterback room. Why wouldn't he have the chance to start again? It's not like he's not competing with Josh Allen here. He's not competing with Patrick Mahomes. He's not competing with Caleb Williams. Start naming quarterbacks. It's Shedeur, who was a fifth-round pick, and who struggled big time last year, even though he showed signs. But, of course he's going to get the opportunity.
Yeah, but where do you think he's hearing that from? Because he's talking to Todd every day. You assume he's talking to Andrew quite often. And then we've heard from, Miles and now Joel saying that they talk to Andrew a ton, right? But he just came out and said, I talk to the owner all the time. We text all the time. He came to my wedding.
I think he talks to all three.
But where is he getting that? Is he getting that confidence from all three? Because to get it from the owner is one thing, and yeah, that's the big backing. But at some point, if the head coach could just be like, "Hey, it's competition. We'll see." If the owner's telling you, you're going to get in there. Don't worry.
I can go back to the phone. I told you that when they hired Todd, one of the first things we got, we go over the shows. The first text we were getting is that he likes Watson. I don't think he got the job because he likes Watson, but he likes Watson. He's going to try to make something of him. That was the first thing that we got texted.
2 segments ago, you said, you don't think Taylor Green's going to get in? That's probably where the confidence stems from. Look at the quarterback room. He knows. He in his mind, and this is how anybody would feel if they've been really good at something. In his mind, he still thinks he has a chance to be a top 5 quarterback in the NFL.
Well, and Anthony, you've brought up the guys you're talking to that are out there every day. Say his athleticism seems to be back.
So given that, even he probably assumes, I'll work on the mechanics. I'll get that back. We've got plenty of time to get everything back in gear because he's talked about his shoulder and, it's not been close to 100% in a long time, and now kind of seems like he's saying now he did admit too he's not the exact same player he was. So I thought that was I honestly just if we're talking, I know so many of you have just turned the page on Watson, so you don't care, but you do have to have there's like delusion that you have to play in the NFL, but that you can't also at the same time be completely unhinged on it. Mm-hmm. And he did admit he's not the same player he was. That's probably important for him. That probably mentally is important. You can't just go out there thinking you're the exact same guy, or that'll mess with you. That'll mess with your brain in so many
physically,
ways.
things have changed so much. I think that's a great point because physically, things have changed so much for him. I think mentally, the game has changed. I mean, he says he's an introvert now, so he's clearly had to change the type of person he is. I mean, for the love of God, I mean, let's be honest. I don't think that there's been a lot of people very happy to see him show up in the area, out there, everywhere. He says he's had to be an introvert. So, I think
Kenny,
he's probably had to make a lot of changes.
He was a pariah. There were country clubs that wouldn't take his money. Think about that. A guy that had everything thrown at him, whatever he wanted at any time, to his detriment. He could get anything. He could make anything happen. He was maybe going to be one of the faces of the NFL. And then you're a pariah. Think about mentally, and he did it to himself. So let's be clear. He's not a victim in this. But imagine that. Just go from having everything at your disposal to nothing at your disposal, and you don't even have the gifts that you once had that you thought you'd have for life. That has to be so taxing on you mentally.
Again, we have the clip going out, and I said if they're both going to struggle, let's. I would always like to say the tie goes to Shedeur, but I don't believe that in my heart to be the right way to take care of it. But you just said it right there. I mean, let's call it what it is. People say, well, you're freaking out over one practice. No, I'm not freaking out over anything. I'm looking at this where every single beat reporter has told us, and every single person who's been an observer of practice has said, yeah, there's been a couple of good days, but there's been a lot of not so good days for both of these guys that we're considering the two competitors for the starter. But you have Deshaun Watson, who now has to change the type of quarterback he is. He just admitted it right there, as you just said. And then you got Shedeur Sanders having to do all the things that I just explained to everybody in the last segment, where you went from behind the 8 ball last year to now you fired that coaching staff, you fired that coach, you're putting in a new offense with a new coach and a new system, and you have to do that in a relatively short amount of time. Oh, and you have to compete. I mean, these are two quarterbacks that are finding out exactly who they are. I think Deshaun Watson has to recenter himself and figure out a new type of him. And for Shedeur, I think a lot of things are probably just spinning, going, how could they not? You've had so many different things you've had to deal with here.
For Shedeur,
so you have two quarterbacks that are not in a great spot right now.
When's the last time Shedeur had to compete? When's the last time in his life he's actually had competition?
He's been better than Jackson State. It was easily he was the number one. Colorado, easily. Probably Trinity was Trinity High School down there is what it was?
Yeah, that's where he went.
Yeah. The Texas one, not the one down the road. In high school is probably the last time he had to compete because it's just been like, hey, you're the best guy. You go out and you play it. So now your competition is against the defenses you play. This, for all we know, this could be the first competition. I don't know what he was coming in as a freshman.
I feel like it's probably his dad was his offensive coordinator in high school too. So I don't know that he had to compete that much for that, really.
So this might be his first internal competition.
Yeah.
I think it goes without saying that that's a distinct possibility.
I think that's why we heard the whole "we're just practicing" thing, because this is the first time that he's ever been anything like that.
I did think there was more that I think he's friends with Deshaun, and
I think he's friends with Deshaun, and I think maybe Deshaun is friendly with him.
Well, clearly he wants to get his job.
One of those guys is an NFL professional that's been that for quite a long time. The other guy's been around locker rooms his whole life. He's not had to go out and
be that
NFL professional.
Think of this too. Wouldn't this be Deshaun's first competition?
Well, no.
Since when? College? Since early?
When he
Clemson?
arrived at Clemson, he was not the starter. There was a starter that was not a good one.
Who the hell was that?
He
That'd be a
technically
hell of
did
a
not
trivia
start
question.
his first in the NFL when he first got to the NFL.
Yeah, but it was.
And then at halftime they made a change.
But that's why it's been different.
Week.
It's been a different experience for Shedeur.
Both of them, honestly.
And so I'm telling you, like I said, I thought Shedeur's response was very healthy. I think if he's going to get serious about being the starting quarterback of the Browns, I think it doesn't have to be nasty. Don't get me wrong. It doesn't need to go in that direction. I expect to see a little bit more of of a different competitor demeanor once training camp starts, because now everything. Remember, Todd Monken's got to be observing everything, and we know a quarterback has to act differently. They can't be the friendliest guy on the team with everybody. You can't be trying to win a popularity contest. That's to be a quarterback. You've got to piss some people off. Like, that's part of it.
Because you're supposed to know what's better. It's not about being happy with everybody. It's about leading them forward.
And there are times you've got to choose somebody's head off. I don't know that Shador's ever had to do that. You know, I don't know. Maybe the people of Colorado who've been watching him closer can tell me and give me examples. But now you're at a professional level, and you're not, it's not like Shador's the highest paid guy on the team or anything. So you've got to start to exude it, because it's not just going to be, oh, he's the quarterback, he's the leader. No, you've got to exude all that stuff and walk and talk like a quarterback. And I'll be very interested to see, how he handles that, because he's been such a popular guy. The quarterback is not always the most. Russell Wilson was not always the most popular guy in a locker room. In fact, people hated his guts, but sometimes leaders are hated. Who hates Shador?
I don't think he's a great idea. I don't think he's a great example. I would use one of the better ones that are out there as an example.
Tom Brady.
Well, I think it's been proven here over the last few years.
Tom Brady wasn't the most popular guy in every locker room.
There you go.
There were some people that hated his guts.
That's perfectly said, because I think there's a lot of guys where
Aaron Rodgers, we could do this.
Much better.
It doesn't have to be a popularity
I take Richard
contest.
Sherman's side so much on that one that I don't want to bog you down there. I'm sorry. I know what you're trying to do.
All I'm saying is everything I see out of Shador, he's such like an inspirational figure. Like, every time I see him, I'm like, oh my God, if this football thing doesn't pan out, tomorrow he could do so many different avenues of showing.
He exudes positivity.
Well, all that said,
kind of like Tim Tebow. Honestly, he's been compared to Tebow before.
All that pointed out that if they're both struggling, I'm just going to assume that Shador's eventually going to get the job. If they're both struggling, then I'd rather him just have a little bit more time then. If I don't think that much is going to be done, and I do think it's a waste of time with Deshaun Watson out there. The only way it's not a waste of time with Deshaun Watson out there is if it gives Shador more time to get ready to show what he can do, so we can make ourselves an informed decision getting ready for next offseason. That's what I think it's about. Because if they're both struggling, I just don't think it's very responsible to take the younger guy out there who's had to deal with all these different things and put him out there week one and say, hey, go save save our season. Go win and go change the culture of this franchise right now and do it. Because if you would have done that, you would have just handed him the job. And that's the way it would have been. Instead, you're in a competition. So if you're in a competition, quote unquote, I'm still going to want to do what's best for him and best for the overall franchise. So if Deshaun Watson just goes out there and he is horrific throughout training camp, then yeah, I guess I got to do what I got to do, and I'll play Shador Sanders. But if it's close and they're both, they got the grip, but they don't, and there's a couple things here we got to do differently because they might be both behind, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to let Deshaun take the brunt of that beating coming up at the beginning of the season.
We're only looking at the cut-ups and the throws. Being a quarterback is more than that. That's important. You got to be able to do that stuff. But it's also being able to take the coaching. Like, how is that being handled? Like yesterday, Todd Monken, I guess he completely lost his voice screaming at Shador to start practice yesterday and didn't have his voice the rest of practice. Like, what is he screaming about? We know Shador can make a nice deep throw. We know he can do that. Todd Monken's seen that. It's on tape from last year. That's not quarterbacking. There's so much more to the art of quarterbacking. I know people are noting, wait, you guys are there was a competition last year for Shador. No, there wasn't. He was a 4-string quarterback. That's not the type of competition we are talking about. Like, he was competing for the backup job.
They held him back last year.
That wasn't a real competition. This is the first
year.
time in Shador's life it's actually been a real competition.
No, they said it, and that was a complete farce. You had him throwing a ball, boys. That's not a competition. No. Nobody's serious on that. The hell, that's part of the reason why Stefanski isn't here anymore. Mary Kay, 820 this morning.
But Andrew Berry is.
Shador taking the lead. You know what? I got something about Parker Brailsford later you're going to be surprised about, because, yeah, that's the big conversation is fifth-round rookie centers. Well, I got something for you coming up later on about Andrew Berry. I'm glad you brought that up. Mary Kay Cabot, 820 this morning. Has Shador taken the lead? Has Deshaun let it slip away? Also, speaking of letting leads slip away, the Guardians are no longer in first place. How can the Guardians come back from 15.5 games back last year? And some of you think the season's already over this year. About last night in 5 minutes on The Fan.
Real estate market, so
can happen around the globe that we never hear of.
I really don't give a I mean, it had nothing to do with me. I mean, they moved the meeting. I didn't miss it. I was just trying to get a sweet haircut.
How it is when you win in Cleveland, man. They love you. When you lose, whew, it's the way it should be.
He's a piece of crap. The kid, he sucks. He's sucked his whole career.
I got rumors about him. How he couldn't please his wife, so now he's divorced.
That sounds really good, but I'm not 6'5", and I don't have the athletic ability to play in the NBA.
Now, the Ken Carman Show with Anthony Lima give their thoughts on what you might have missed about last night.
For the first time since April 28th, the Cleveland Guardians are no longer in first place. They head into play today, a half game back of the White Sox. They lost 8-4 yesterday. The Yankees completed the sweep. And I just want to ask you guys, why don't you overreact more over these baseball games? Like, they're not going to play the Yankees again. This is the team that they're going to have to beat if they want to get to the World Series. Like, every single problem with the Guardians is, it's a 162. You guys got to play multiple games. Like, go ahead.
I'll tell you why. 2 reasons. Let me be open and honest. Part of the reason this is why I jot down a note on every game I watch. Because some of us, we have been accused multiple times of not watching baseball, of not watching the Guardians. It is a 3-sport town, a 3-team town, but the Guardians fans are very, very, very sensitive to those who they believe do not watch the games. So there's been a history of people not watching the games. And I think that many of them have said, it's a long season. Because if you just say it's a long season, no one's going to attack you for some damning opinion. Like when I said I lived and breathed the uprising of Lonnie Chisenhall and knew that the fans were going nuts when they first saw Lonnie Chisenhall. I compared it to the reaction to what people were going about Chase DeLauder. Everybody went crazy because they're different type of players. But I was there. I lived it. I saw the reaction of the fans, right? Another reason. This is a team that's come back from 15.5 back. This is a team that does not spend a lot of money, John. This is a team that's supposed to always be playing the long game. When you have had it ingrained over the last 26 years now that we're playing the long game here, not just going for now, that tends to take the heat out of a June 10th loss to the Yankees, except that they've lost now 4 in a row and they got swept by the Yankees. But leading up to that, yeah, John, I'm just not going to overreact to 1-game losses when they came back from a historical comeback in the Central Division. They play in the Central Division. And yeah, I wish I could use a better term, I've been brainwashed. I'm going to be 40. That's the bulk of my career, my life, is that we're a small market team. We're playing the long game and a little bit of the short game here.
Yeah, what's tough is now just because this bugaboo against the Yankees has existed, John, you're new to town, but this is something that even though we had just beaten them in a series, now you're going to hear from some fans say, "What does it matter? We're not going to beat the Yankees," even though you actually fared decently against their starting pitching. Their bullpen's not great this year. The problem is also they didn't have 2 of their big names in Aaron Judge and Stanton, and so this is what fans are going to be left to say. Like, how are we going to beat that team when they have everybody? You
guys ready for a big brain theory? Mm-hmm. My boss, Andy, because how it's worked in my career, I always end up working for a Keith or I always end up working for an Andy. My boss, Andy, over at 8, says he doesn't mind so much that they're losing like this right now. Says it puts more pressure on the organization to make a move at the trade deadline.
I just like it's
Is that
fun.
a big brain theory?
It's fun to live and die with.
He's watching you. He can hire you right now. I bet he didn't like that look on you.
I got to move. How about we let Manzardo actually bat? Like the guy gets on base. Ooh. He's had a great month. And then what do we do? 2 plate appearances a few games ago. Yesterday, I know he's going up against a lefty, but we can't have him in there. And
Anthony passing, I love it.
I just think, maybe we need to see some more of Manzardo.
I think some of that's on Manzardo, though, too. If he'd learned to play a better first base, he'd be in the lineup.
He's still a young player. He's still developing.
He's been up 3 years now.
One quick other...
It takes a minute. You get
one
a cup
other
of
quick
coffee.
Question. I know it's just there was some whispers.
We'll get him in there in the next decade.
There's some whispers right now. We all love DeLauder. I've seen some people say maybe he needs to go down for a little bit.
Oh, no. Easy. Who are these people?
Well, if you take out his first 2 or 3 weeks,
they can blow it out their ass. That's ridiculous.
He's been a way below average hitter.
That's ridiculous.
And not great in the field either.
If we're not going to win the pennant, then if you want to win the pennant, then I think he's still part of your team. if you're not going to win the pennant, he still needs the time up in the bigs.
Well, he's never had this many games,
We're done
right?
with the minors.
Like
We're moving on.
In the minors, he really didn't have that many games.
Yeah, he was injured a lot.
So he was injured a lot. So I do wonder if there's not just a physical fatigue, but a mental fatigue, because these games are coming. You saw, day off yesterday. The games are coming. They just don't stop in Major League Baseball. And he's never had any kind of workload like this before.
They got a day off today, too. So.
The Spurs blew a 29-point lead in the NBA Finals yesterday. Knicks ended up winning that game 107-106. They lead 3-1 in the series. Basketball has so many inconsequential parts. The NBA can be so inconsequential when you think about how the regular season doesn't matter really that much at all. And then you're up 30 points in the NBA Finals. You're firing on all cylinders, and then the game's tied with 5 minutes to go. Like, every NBA game should just be 5 to 10 minutes, because that's all that matters. The game runs. They're always going to come back. Like, it just seems so inconsequential to me.
Well, so here's obviously the difference in today's game is we've never had the shooting, like the amount of guys that can reasonably shoot the basketball. Like, you almost have to have 5 guys on the floor at all times, and even your bad shooters, like your guys that aren't known for your guys that aren't known for shooting. Like in the Knicks case, it would be Josh Hart. In the Spurs case, it would be Castle. He's not supposed to be a shooter, but they can. They can shoot threes. And so no lead is ever going to be safe when you can space the floor and everybody. And then all the teams should have 3 to 4 guys coming off the bench that can shoot. That was never the case when we watched basketball growing up. You literally only had 2 guys that you could depend on each team to shoot threes. That's it. Everybody else, you didn't even want them shooting threes. So and that's not going away, because of that, no lead is safe. I said early in the show, the Knicks have done this 5 times now in the last 2 years. But all the teams have had these enormous comebacks. The Cavs had comebacks this year in both series against the Pistons and against the Raptors. No lead is safe in the NBA. That always used to be the case. Everybody makes a run. But now it's in the playoffs against the best teams. So it's just a different style and a different way the games are played.
Can I accuse Johnny of being a non-ball knower here?
Why?
You say the regular season doesn't matter. If they would have finished in the 4th spot instead of the 3rd spot, had they had more hell against Toronto than Atlanta? Just asking. It's been a wild run for them, and there were people wondering if they were going to lose to Atlanta in the 1st round. Stephen A. Smith, remember that. Maybe they would have played Toronto. Maybe things would have been different. You're wondering.
So there is, without
the regular season does matter.
I don't
just
see
matters
it like that.
for
Because you don't watch basketball.
It matters for seeding.
Though.
But I do think, like, in general, the only thing that is going to continue to matter is making sure your team is healthy by the playoffs. Seeding be damned.
But John's right. The first 40 minutes don't matter of a game.
No. Right. Yeah,
So just go to Elam innings for everything.
You can come back at any time.
And rock and jock baskets.
Hey, did you see the 4-point 60-yard field goal in the UFL?
Yes.
You bring that to the NFL? 60 yards tough. How about a 4-point 60-yard field goal? I saw that the DC's defenders hit the 60-yarder. That's why I'm asking.
I don't want kickers having more of an influence. That's what that would do.
You made me think of it because you said the rock and jock. Also, my boss is over at 8 is listening. I got 2 bosses listening right now. And he said, sit down. This is your first Guardians rodeo. You think of that, Johnny?
Well, the other thing is they came down from they came back from 15.5 last year. So in this division, nobody like the White Sox have been awesome and young, but are they going to be able once teams can adjust to their young guys? They basically
season doesn't start for 4 more days.
They emptied their farm system.
My new decree.
Yeah, we're still in spring training. Don't even worry about it.
You guys remember these games don't count.
Don't even worry about it. I mean, hell, yeah. He didn't even put it. Chase hasn't even put in his MLB service yet, technically, according to Owen's schedule. And I mean, hell, you guys want to send him to the minors? Come on.
That's it for About Last Night.
Get your head out of the clouds. We got Mary Kay Cab at 8:20 this morning. Is Deshaun Watson letting the job slip away, or is Shedeur taking it from him? And coming up here in 5 minutes, big brain Andrew Barry, big brain Peter Schrager. Lima noticed something there. Ken Carman, Anthony Lima, here on The Fan.
XTENDAV.com. One thing I absolutely know.
trying to improve every day, whether it's mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. Like, I'm just trying to be a better person every day. And wherever that falls into place, it'll fall into place.
I know you said that you didn't have any doubts in your mind that worried about never playing again, but I guess were there any doubts about if you would get another chance in Cleveland to be the starting quarterback?
No. And that's just from internal conversations.
We got a competition on our hands, even though they don't want to call it a competition. Fine by me. Fine by me. What? What's the matter?
One of them doesn't want to call it a competition. The other one never said yay or nay on it. And then the coach couldn't tell you it was a competition or not because he blew out his voice yelling at the quarterbacks. Obviously, we've got a competition.
This is good stuff, yes. Mary Kay Cavett, she's going to join us at 8:22. Can we do it and not call it a competition, or do we have to call it a competition?
It's 100% a competition.
Yeah.
Unless, by the way, you think it's been a sham all along, and I know some people
Also,
have said that.
Can I clarify something? I'm getting destroyed thanks to Joey and Keith for a clip. Guys, I haven't been to camp. I'm going by what Daryl said. Excuse me, I don't want to throw Daryl under the bus. I'm going by multiple reports. They said they have both struggled. Zach is doing the dime. What is it called? The dimes and the
dimes to ducks ratio.
Dimes to ducks ratio. Yeah, I'm going by what's reported. I was at a different football camp the last 3 days. I was watching a totally different group of football players the last 3 days. I'm going by the report. Nobody has their mind made up. My point that was simply said is that if you're telling me that they're both struggling and both guys aren't doing so well, I don't think it's responsible to just put Shedeur in there and say, well, I just want Shedeur to win the job. It might satiate me in who I want to see, but it might not be the most responsible thing for Shedeur Sanders. That's my point. I haven't been there. I haven't seen it. So relax. Social media reactions on X brought to you by
Scheib & Jewelers, Cleveland's premier jewelry store.
But that won't be a video. I guarantee it. That won't be a video that
oh, and I am so happy right now.
Go ahead.
Why are you happy?
I am so happy.
Why are you happy?
Anthony.
For the first, 3 years of this show, I was the bad guy. Ken was the good guy. And anytime Ken gets to be the bad guy for a little bit, I have to enjoy it. I have to enjoy it.
Apparently I'm the bad boy.
Because I don't think Ken deals with it very well.
What do you mean?
Ken, what you been doing?
What have you been doing the last 5 minutes?
I don't deal with it very well. I'll admit that because I don't set out to piss everybody off.
No, you don't. No, you do
That's
not.
the whole thing. Like when you guys sit there going, Cleveland media this and Cleveland media that. Hey, I'm not going to sit there and answer for.
Ken has elevated himself above the fray when it comes to that.
No.
But he would never devolve.
Okay, the guy who asked the question yesterday that Shedeur Sanders said was divisive, you think I want looped in with that guy? No.
Have we played that yet?
Are we laying our cards here on the table? You think I want to be looped in with that? You think I want to be looped in with that?
You had a problem with that question?
I thought it was a divisive question, yeah.
Really?
Yes.
Really?
What do you think he was doing by asking that? Fine, fire the question off. Oh, boy, we're going to end up in a meeting today.
It's the same question that was asked to McCarthy. Exact same question that's been asked in every quarterback competition I've ever heard.
Forget Barry. Forget all. No, that was not the same exact question. No, it wasn't.
Okay.
Wait a minute. Working out with Deshaun Watson or doing your own thing?
Yeah. What, you had a problem with somebody?
You had a problem with him saying that that's a divisive question?
You had a problem with them if anybody in the media is trying to find out what they're going to be doing over the next 6 weeks and how they're going to be handling their off time.
Especially after Shedeur had just said, it's not a competition. We're all just hanging out.
Yeah, if they're just hanging out, why can't you ask about that?
But maybe they'll be hanging out in the next 5 weeks together.
Wait a minute. So the person who asked the question, who we can't name the name or we will end up in a meeting. The person who asked the question, you're telling me that guy has not been asked by Shedeur Sanders about negativity before, because he has. And then former quarterbacks have asked him about negativity before, which you don't have to be positive all the time.
Before we go.
Play the question. Go right on ahead.
Shedeur, do you plan on hosting a workout prior to training camp with teammates, or are you going to attend Deshaun's?
What do you mean attend Deshaun's?
I think he's having a workout for teammates in South Florida.
I just think that was just a question to try to start something, honestly.
It really isn't.
I think we're a team. If one of us chooses to do something, we all gonna do it together as a team. It's not no individual thing. So that's the thing. Like the quarterback room, like we all connected, we all cool. That's the difference. Like we all cool, we all communicate with each other. Hey, there's nobody's single individual idea because that creates separation with, okay, now what receiver's gonna show up for this guy? Nah, we all a team. We all gonna come as one. We all gonna get together as one team and get the things done. Cause then that's what separate, that causes separation and just a messed up vibe. And it's like, that's not really what we own this year. We own like being a great team.
He knows anything. He knows if he says something different that could end up being a problem. He wants to be a teammate.
Sure. Well, he
has been.
He gets to clarify that. That's why you asked the question.
This is why I use because when you ask, are you doing something by yourself? Or are you going to work out with him? Well, why is he not working out with him? Do we have something to hide here?
And he gets to explain that, and he just did.
And if
so
you
what's
ask,
the problem?
But because there is a history. If you ask the question, or certainly I ask the question, or some of the other people ask the question, it may be taken differently by Shedeur Sanders. But because that question was asked by that person, it's going to be taken in that way by him.
Did fans not find it notable which wide receivers were working with which quarterback? Has that not been very newsworthy throughout?
It has been newsworthy.
We did that with Baker. We've done that with every quarterback, right?
Yes.
So why would you have a problem with somebody asking, hey, well, Deshaun's been having these workouts. Are you going to be a part of that? Are you going to be doing your own thing? Isn't that something fans want to know? Don't fans find that to be interesting and information that they file away?
But again, I brought up the history.
Oh, so you're just saying it's him asking the
question. If I were there, which I wasn't, if I asked that question, how is it taken? Probably not the way he just said it, okay? If Owen goes there and asks that question, okay? Or if Daryl asks that question. I mean, Daryl's not a divisive person, but you say I have a problem. Yeah. Because I'm like, of all the things I am, and I am a lot of things, I am not negative. I want them to win. When they don't win, I get mad. But I don't set out for them to, oh my God, yeah, they're going to suck. And that's going to be great. Guys, we're not allowed to talk about ratings on the air. I wish I could, but I can tell you this much. When they were really, really bad, we have told people this before. When back in 16 and 17 was the lowest numbers we ever had. Why? Because they were 1-31. And people didn't want to hear about them. So why on earth would I set out business-wise and my own well-being for them to be bad and have all this dissension in the ranks?
Yeah, I just think in general, and I praised Shedeur for how he handled the other question. I think this is like the third time that he has kind of jumped the gun on assuming the worst.
Because again,
and I don't.
How many times do I jump the gun on you when I think that you're going to set me up for failure or set me up to look like an idiot? Because you lay traps for me all the time. You probably are now.
I think this is where he should be very thankful he's not in New York or Philly, because he would get 30 more of these every single press conference than he's getting in Cleveland. I think
likely.
I think the Cleveland media has been pretty graceful to his situation. There's a lot of guys rooting for him. I mean, he has outright cheerleaders in the media too here. So, I mean, that's not happening in New York. Just flat out doesn't, unless you're good. I mean, unless you're really, really good. But he's obviously in a competition. He was a 5th-round pick. So I think he should be very thankful the type of questions and the exposure he's been getting here.
Okay. 216-474-0092. I don't know if he should be just thankful for it.
I mean, there's some guys with pom-poms at these things.
But, Tone, you understand, he does. I mean,
they've
some
made
of these
it their
guys,
whole identity to cater to the Shedeur fans.
I'm not trying to be that way. I'm just trying to be a little bit more understanding to this, because we've talked about this before, and you've agreed with me on this before. You know, they come from areas where at Colorado, you had no success whatsoever, and then you have great success. People are going to be pretty damn nice to you if you've had some success, and they did. It's the same thing down at Ohio State. How many people are really trying to stick it to the Buckeyes players down there? Nobody. Then they get into this area, and they can't believe, like, they go, good God almighty. Some people got a little bit of a burr on their ass in some of the cities because they're going to a situation where they haven't been great. And I do think that our media, if I am talking about the media now, I do think our media has been nicer than a lot of other places they could be. That I'll go halfway with you on that. But again, when there's a history there, when you've been told that certain people out there are going to try to do it, and I brought it over myself. How many times do I overreact to something you're saying because of so many times before you've tried to set a trap for me to make me look like an idiot in our arguments? 1,000? 1,010? so many times. So I don't necessarily blame him for that reaction. Just like if it doesn't work out with him, the next quarterback is probably going to have a preconceived notion about that guy.
That all started. Hey, Baker was really nice at first. And then, just took a few years of losing.
There you go. 216-474-0092. So what is the I'm telling people to call. I'll get to you guys. I got to get to Mary Kay at 8:20. So what is it? Is it knock? Are you knocking on me for being sensitive to this?
I think that's
if I got to tell people bad news, I'll tell people bad news. But I'm pointing out the whole point of I'm saying if they're going to be bad, then I don't want to go with the guy who's younger because I don't think that's putting him in the right spot. But at no point why I'm upset about it. At no point did it come out of my mouth that they've been bad. I don't know if they've been bad. I haven't seen them be bad. I'm responding to the reports of them being bad. That's what I'm responding to. I don't go out of my way to get everybody in Cleveland all pissed off. I just don't like that. It's never been my thing in 15 years.
Ken does not like it. I can speak firsthand.
Well, if I think it's better for everybody, I'll tell people bad news, but I'm not trying to make everybody's morning worse by saying nasty things to get I like my interaction. No, because of that. The hell are you talking about? You done?
Yeah.
Mary Kay, 5 away on the Fan. Well, and by the way, I want to know whether or not they have been bad. With Mary Kay coming up in 5 on the Fan. What?
What a tease.
Well, I got to
Mary
do
Kay,
I have
5
to ask
away.
her.
We'll do it
ask
today, I might say.
You just may. Better save your hay. Friends, Ken Carman here for K&K Heating and Cooling. K&K.
the White Sox by a half game. Get all the latest Browns content filtered right to your phone during this offseason by following the Browns playlist and 92.3 The Fan on the Odyssey app. Headline sports news every 20 minutes right here on 92.3 The Fan. From the University Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Jeff Thomas.
Thursday, it's 8:20. Mary Kay Cabot joins us right now on the Wise Heart Right, We Make It Right, Call Kyle Right hotline. Hello, Mary Kay.
Hello, guys. How you doing?
Doing wonderful. It's good to talk to you here. Lima just got me all worked up, upset. Let's just go down to it here. Let's get down to the brass tacks. Stop laughing. It ain't funny. Is Deshaun Watson letting this job slip away, or is Shedeur Sanders taking it from him?
Well, I don't know if he's taking it from him, but he's making it a competition, Shedeur is. And I think that's good. I think that's good for both guys. Competition brings out the best in everyone, and it's probably good for Deshaun to have somebody nipping at his heels so that, that he continues to keep the pedal to the metal and get better and better and realize that he has to earn this job too, just like Shedeur would. So I understand where Todd is going with this. I don't necessarily agree with it. I mean, I think if he does feel that he has his guy, he should start training camp with, sort of a known QB1, at least internally. And I also think during the 5-week summer break, it just would help everyone to kind of know who to rally behind, who to get behind, and to get everybody pulling in one direction.
Well, that's interesting about the slight Todd criticism. Mary Kay joining us right now. I know you weren't coming in guns a-blazing saying you were going to let him know that he's doing this wrong, but I've been kind of the mindset that, hey, look, if they're this close or one has not really emerged, then what's the rush? I mean, they're not even really getting a real pass rush yet. They're not in jeopardy of getting hit. They're not even wearing pads. And I thought it was going to be hard for either of them to really look on a different level than the other. So I thought, why not take our time here and really have more time to examine this?
Well, I'm sure that's the wisdom behind Todd Monken's decision to carry this thing into training camp. And to Shedeur's credit, he's worked so hard over the past couple of weeks that he has kind of brought himself a little bit from behind, because Deshaun was ahead in the early going, even though no one was ever willing to really state that publicly. Deshaun started out this competition a little bit in the lead by virtue of his 3 Pro Bowls and his sort of mastery of the Todd Monken offensive concepts, the fact that he's taken teams to playoffs and things like that. So a healthy Deshaun Watson was in the lead, and Shedeur just refused to be denied. And I think that's good. That's what you want to see from your second-year quarterback. That's exactly what you want to see. So now we'll have to see how it goes once they get to camp. But the thing to remember here is that it will be very, very difficult to really, truly evaluate either quarterback until they're in live action. And even preseason games are fool's gold to a certain extent. You can be a preseason star, and then when you get to the games and people are game planning for you and taking away your strengths and, working all week to make sure that they neutralize you, that's when you have to rise to the occasion. So we just probably haven't seen the end of this for a while.
Mary Kay Cabot joining us here on the Wise Heart Right, We Make It Right, Call Kyle Right hotline. Yeah, we remember that Brandon Whedon game against the Lions in the preseason. You remember that, Tone? I was like, wasn't we sitting together for a little bit of that game?
Absolutely,
yeah.
we were.
And things went straight to hell. Well, Mary Kay, I'm a little bit torn here. I mean, I'm just a tortured soul. Where I'm getting what I want, it seems, that Shedeur has jumped right back into this. There's a possibility he could start the season, but then I'm getting reports of them struggling. Have they both struggled, you're saying? Or because there's been so many people who have said, guys, both these guys are struggling here. Have they both struggled to you?
Well, at times. At times they've both looked very good, and at times they've both struggled.
Okay.
And also the thing to remember is, we don't know exactly when they go back to the film room and review the film, we don't know who's going to the right place, who's going through their progressions quickly enough, who's releasing the ball. There are a lot of things that go into this evaluation, and you might see a great long bomb, but maybe what you didn't see was a defender pulling up on the other end to make sure that that would have been a sack in a game, obviously. So, it's very difficult when they are at this stage in no pads with no real pass rush to determine who would do a better job when the fur is flying. So I think that Todd Monken and his staff, they've got a tall order in front of them.
Well, and that might be my issue is that, I do want Shedeur to start week 1, but also I don't want to do wrong by a young quarterback where I don't want to put him out there just to put him out there and him not be ready to take over this offense. Like, a lot has changed. I mean, hearing Deshaun Watson, so much has changed about the type of quarterback he needs to be. When I heard that audio from him yesterday when you guys were meeting with him, and then I just think about everything that's happened over the last 24 months, or really over the last 15 months, I should say, with Shedeur Sanders here, where it's like, man, like, that is it seems like he's always behind the 8 ball. And I don't think it might be the best spot if he's actually struggling to put him out there week 1, because I think it's easier to move on from Watson to Shedeur than it is vice versa.
Well, I think some of the things to remember as we move through this quarterback competition, it's a very, very young offense, very young. And they will have probably 2 rookies starting on the offensive line and 5 new offensive linemen. And someone has to be able to call all of those protections, get everyone lined up properly, manage the motions, make sure that young receivers are in the right place, call the right audibles, and then, of course, go to the right place with the football, make the right reads. And if Shedeur can demonstrate that he's ready to do all of those things on a very, very young and brand new offense, then he has a shot to still go out there and start. But that's the key. It's not making gorgeous long passes in a no-pad practice. It's demonstrating to Todd Monken that you can do everything that you need to do to operate this offense efficiently. And as Deshaun told us yesterday, they put a lot on the quarterbacks. This is a very QB-driven offense where the quarterback has a ton of responsibility when he's out there. And so you have to show that you can handle that. And if Shedeur can do all of that as a second-year quarterback in a brand-new offense with a lot of young guys around him, then he'll stay in this competition.
So, Mary Kay, this has nothing to do with who's throwing the ball better, the mechanics, who's handling the adjustments at the line of scrimmage or taking the coaching in. This is something different that I'm so curious about. I'm always told that, in whether it's a point guard for an NBA team, how they conduct themselves, right, 24/7. I love hearing about quarterbacks and the expectation of what a quarterback is supposed to be. And, I heard both talk yesterday, and I praised both Shedeur and Deshaun for certain elements of, how they're conducting themselves in what is a competition. And normally we're taught that it's supposed to be like what Kyler Murray and McCarthy are going through, where it is a competition. I mean, there's no doubt. And so we're examining how those guys are handling themselves. What did you think of yesterday? What do you think Todd wants? Because I did say as we get closer to the season starting and training camp, I wonder if Todd wants to see more of a competitive spirit in how these guys are handling themselves. And yesterday it seemed like they were very buddy-buddy.
Well, I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all, that they're very buddy-buddy. I mean, these guys are supporting each other. You don't want a quarterback competition to be divisive in any way. And I actually thought when I led my Shedeur story with the fact that he doesn't want them to do 2 separate quarterback workouts in the summer break. He said, we're a team. And I thought that was good. And then Deshaun, who has always gotten plenty of support from the Sanders family and mentored Shedeur all of last season and helped him get ready to play, he was very, very complimentary of Shedeur. So I think that's good. This doesn't need to be contentious. It doesn't need to be a fierce battle where it's dividing the team. Nobody can have that. If that were the case,
I agree.
Then they probably they probably would have to wrap it up sooner.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
No, you go.
Well, the only thing I'm sorry, Ken. The only thing I'm wondering is that I went through different examples of quarterbacks, and Tom Brady, yes, he was the guy, but he also, at times, guys on the team hated his guts. I don't see that out of Shedeur or even Deshaun. I know some fans feel differently, but I don't see that out of either of these guys. Do you think Todd Monken wants to see a little bit of that taking command by a different type of leadership where you're not the most popular guy in the team? You're the guy telling guys where they need to be on every play, and sometimes having to tell guys, hey, that was wrong. You're doing it wrong. Like, are either of these guys capable of that right now?
I think both of these guys are capable of that. I've seen that from both of them, absolutely 100%. And Shedeur, even though he's only a second-year quarterback, he's been doing that since way back early on last year, getting guys lined up and doing all of those kinds of things. It's just a matter of, can you operate that offense efficiently when you need to, when the speed is up and the rush is on and all of those kinds of things. You have to be able to do it in that split second, in the heat of the moment. You can't be holding on to the ball. And that's one of the things that Shedeur is going to have to speed it up a little bit. But that should come with time once he gets the offense assimilated a little bit more. But he is an empirical learner. He goes out and he puts it on the grass, and that's when he gets better and better. And that's, I think, why he's still in this competition, because he started to improve about 2 weeks ago. You could see the lights coming on more and more with him.
Mary Kay Cabot joining us here. What do we do with this whole Brendan Sorsby conversation? Do you think that they've considered him at all if he ends up going to a supplemental draft? It seems that he won't, but now they're trying to do everything they can to make Texas Tech as uncomfortable as possible with playing him.
Well, the Browns have plenty of intel on Brendan Sorsby already. They did a lot of work on him heading into the 2025 draft because there was a chance that he was going to be in it. So they already have a book on him from that standpoint. And if he enters the supplemental draft, then they just have to update their profile on him. But I think that with Todd Monken saying what he said about it being a slippery slope, I think that was probably pretty telling. They've probably had some internal discussions and decided that at this point in time, that might not be where they want to go. And I do think that they would be best served by turning the temperature down in their quarterback room. They always have just a very, very loud situation at quarterback. It's never just kind of calm and easy. So I just don't know if you would want to throw that log onto the fire.
Can I throw another thing at you here?
Sure.
Can I guarantee Todd Monken's job going into next year? Because I hate the conversation that surrounded over the last week after the Myles Garrett trade. And I don't like that at all, because I'm thinking about the other young guys here. I mean, I know you're talking about cooling off the temperature in the QB room. I agree with you. But when it comes to the other young guys, I mean, we got second-year guys that have some promise at some other positions, Mary Kay, and it's like, man, that would be 3 different messages in 3 different years. It's very easy to get negative about this. We just talked to one of the all-time great Cleveland Browns in Joel Bitonio. Like, there's a lot that this guy has to come in and deal with here, and I think we're just starting to get our act together in other positions, and I just don't want to do anything silly.
Well, I think it's ridiculous to start that conversation at this
thank
point.
you.
No, I don't see anything like that happening. This is a very, very young team, but a talented team, and it's going to take a while to pull it together this year. And there's I think, a significant amount of pressure on Todd Monken to get this offense operational for the first few weeks of the season. It's not going to be easy to do that when you have so many young guys. So I do think it's not that he's going to get any kind of a pass on that, but I do think there will be some recognition that this is a completely overhauled offense, and it will have a learning curve early on.
Like, one of the things that I think people are going to have to hold me to the fire for this year is, like, I did say to Lyman, I mean it, like, if I don't see a lot of pre-snap penalties, if I don't see a lot of stupid things, like Todd Monken has described, it's like, all right, let's see where this season goes, and let's see what we can do for the future. Because I just hate the whole David Culley comparison just because they're both in their 60s. And if Houston wanted to go ahead and do something stupid, that's fine. That's Houston. I don't need to be doing stupid things. I like this guy, and I want to see him succeed. Mary Kate, thank you very much for the time. I'm sorry for my terse nature here. I'm still worked into a shoot. We love you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Oh, and then I accidentally did that. I accidentally hit the button.
Man, Ken, what a rough day.
It's not going how I wanted it. I'm going to tell you that right now. Not going how I wanted it. I'm sorry, Mary Kay. What do you got to say for yourself?
Well, Mary Kay kind of took issue with Todd Monken about the handling of all of this and whether or not it was going to be wrapped up. But she admitted that Shedor's closed the gap, but neither of them have elevated themselves to a point where it's like clear who the starting quarterback should be.
I think you might have a point there. Can we get to that next?
Yeah.
5 minutes away on the Fan, as well as Andrew Berry might be sitting on an all-time heater. That's at 9:20 this morning on the Fan.
Anthony Lima for QC Kinetics. Are
he's worked so hard over the past couple of weeks that he has brought himself a little bit from behind, because Deshaun was ahead in the early going, even though no one was ever willing to really state that publicly. Deshaun started out this competition a little bit in the lead by virtue of his 3 Pro Bowls and his sort of mastery of the Todd Monken offensive concepts, the fact that he's taken teams to playoffs and things like that. So a healthy Deshaun Watson was in the lead, and Shedeur just refused to be denied.
That's Mary Kay Cabot with us just moments ago. And I tell you what, we know how you feel about Deshaun Watson. How does Deshaun feel about you? You'll hear coming up at 9:01 on The Fan, as well as I noticed as I was at another football camp yesterday that wasn't the Browns, I read something that I go, man, if this actually comes to fruition, and I ain't talking about any quarterbacks. I read a report, and I'm thinking if this comes to fruition here, and Andrew Berry, I might give him a piggyback ride. I may go from saying this is one of the all-time bad to this guy could be right up there with one of the all-time heaters right now, and thank God I'm ready to blame it all on Paul DePodesta and move on. That coming up at 9:20, because we also have some other Andrew Berry audio where some people were very I saw your mentions. People were very critical, Andrew, about an interview he did with Peter Schrager. Really? That coming up at 9:20. Yeah, I saw that.
I thought it was good.
You got to be careful about these sort of things, guys.
I want to hear this.
They're critical of him for the way things might have went down, and we'll hear that with the Peter Schrager interview coming up at 9:20 this morning. 216-474-0092. So I'm sorry, I took that out of you. What did you want to say there?
Well,
what did you want to say?
You know, the whole thing about whether or not you'd be disappointed if they don't name a quarterback. Like, yeah, we would have loved it if mostly would have loved it if Shedeur would be so undeniable.
Yeah,
that it would be clear. Like, what do you honestly,
guys? I will. There's sprinklers in here. I'll go outside and I'll set the quarterback list on fire for everybody. We'll have a public burning.
Well, can we all admit that hasn't happened?
No.
He and the fact that he's bridged the gap, that's a good sign, right? I do think that's a good sign.
Yeah, but I don't want him to bridge the gap for the wrong reasons. I don't want him to bridge the gap just because
you don't want Deshaun
the old
to be
guy's
going
unplayable.
Backwards. Yeah. Now that's
not what I want.
I saw another interception from Deshaun yesterday, where I started texting. I go, this guy looks unplayable. And they said, well, the tight end, we don't know what the concept is. And I saw some film gurus saying, no, you could tell they don't totally understand the concept. Whatever. It still looks like bad Deshaun Watson, and the bad Deshaun Watson that we watched here in Cleveland. Now, there have been some flash plays from what we have been told from Watson, and that was always going to be something that you figured he had if he got some of his athleticism back. Now, people are saying he got most of his athleticism back, even though he admitted it's not what it was. You know,
how could it be? He's had like 7 injuries.
Right.
Going from college on to here.
You know, physically, he was always going to have the edge, even after the injuries and surgeries, as long as his shoulder wasn't completely zapped. He was always going to have the edge in that over Shedeur, and he was always going to have the experience edge on Shedeur, even if a lot of the experience wasn't good experience. He was always going to be able to most likely command a huddle better, understand what he's seen at the line of scrimmage better than somebody who only started 7 games last year and is so young and inexperienced. He was always going to have those edges. So where was Shedeur going to be able to make it up? Well, just sometimes a guy from that first half a year to full year, they're making a leap because now they're getting their NFL experience, right?
Yep.
So we want to see more of that. We've seen some good signs. We got to see a lot more of it. And then here's the part where it's impossible for us.
Tell me.
To be able to evaluate.
Tell me.
The being a quarterback. I don't just mean, and Mary Kay talked about this. It's not just, hey, he hooked up on a big pass play to Denzel Boston or Casey or whoever. Yeah, I think most quarterbacks in the NFL can have nice passes with no pass rush and no pass. I think everybody can. I think literally 100%. Even Dylan Gabriel's connected, I guess, on a couple of passes. That doesn't distinguish you from everybody else. It has to be how you conduct yourself from the moment you walk into that building to your dealings, your interactions with teammates, staffers, all of that. And that's impossible for us to be privy to. And that's the stuff that I think Shedeur fans have been annoyed when they heard Deshaun is ahead. How could he be ahead? How could he be ahead at all? Well, we're not there every day. We don't know if when they are sitting in their version of an auditorium, right? Every football team now has,
the big
it kind of
thing,
looks like study hall when you're in high school or college, right? And you're sitting there and
it's a lecture hall.
And can what are we supposed to do on this play? Raise your hand. Like they do that. That's actual. They go back to high school. It's like what it is. We're not there. We don't know about any of that stuff, but that stuff matters, especially to start a football season. If you can't do that stuff, and I'm not saying he can or can't, but I'm assuming Deshaun is ahead of him on that stuff because he's been here and done that and had so many new coaches and coordinators. And that's the stuff we can't get a handle on.
It's tough though. It makes
We're judging
it makes
clips
it more difficult.
and trackers.
It makes it
Dude, guys, the head coach would laugh.
Swear to God.
You guys realize if Todd Monken were here,
He did.
and we asked about that stuff, he would go, "Are you kidding me?"
He did.
But that's all the fans are doing. The fans are only looking at that stuff.
Because it's playing quarterback for the Cleveland Browns, even though there's been so many of them, is a big deal. And if we're not there, we can only go by what we see, which is on the internet. So we stay on the internet. Like I couldn't be there yesterday. I couldn't be there the day before. I told everybody where I was at. Couldn't tell exactly where I was at, even though you keep trying to get it out of me. I couldn't, but I was at another football camp. And when I see some of the stuff, I have to pay attention to the beat reporters. And what do the beat reporters say? Some have said that there have been good days. Some have said that both of them have struggled here. And excuse me, the majority seem to have said that both of them have struggled here. And while a lot of that's explainable, it also makes it more explainable that, you would probably take back what you said if you're Todd Monken about wanting to have a starting quarterback decided by the time training camp comes around. Because in a perfect world, you're hitting the ground running. And it doesn't make me feel any better about the season and how it goes. But if they're both having their struggles like that, like the next 5.5 weeks where it's just hearsay and Instagram videos, guys working out with each other, and hopefully nothing crazy happens with anybody with fireworks and God knows what over 4th of July weekend. But when it comes to the actual football, I want somebody to seize the position. And I don't know if it's going to happen. And if it doesn't happen, I just don't want to start a guy who I like. I don't want to start him just because he's the younger guy and that's it. That to me is a very, very, very bad thing because it's just easier to go from the older guy to the younger guy than it is to go from the younger guy to the older guy. And I understand there are plenty of people jumping in saying, Kenny, they're both terrible. Stop it. Yeah, I know where you guys are at. I know. And I've had to do the due diligence. I do want one of them to work out. I really want Shedeur to work out. I really want him to work out. But you got to do all the other stuff to it. And if I'm just wasting my time, I've wasted my time on things that are so less more important than this, you wouldn't even believe. I cannot tell you the amount of time I've wasted with other people on this football team. This is a much better use of time than a lot of things that we've had to do. 216-474-0092. Coming, I do want to get to you guys. Okay, we got people in. I want to get to you guys coming up in the next hour. 9:22. People are taking this the wrong way about Andrew Berry, and there's something I did notice because I had to spend time on the internet yesterday. There's something I did notice yesterday that if this works out, he might be on one of the all-time heaters ever. I mean, you guys might want him fired. I might end up advocating for him if this actually happens. What is this? I'll tell you at 9:22. In 5 minutes, we know how you feel about Deshaun. How does he feel about you? He'll tell you at 9:01 on the Fan.
It's Anthony Lima for my friends over at Expert Renovations right here in Northeast Ohio. We're talking about incredible.
from 2 to 7 p.m. each and every weekday. It's free. Subscribe to 92.3 The Fan on YouTube.
I had a nice conversation with AB just on the culture and the framework of what they've been putting together. I think the young guys and the young core that they have are just like the right people and the right football players that you want in place. And you keep acquiring talent like that. Like, I think eventually the team, starts to win more games.
Joel Bitonio with us. You can hear that whole interview on the Rewind feature on the Odyssey app, powered by Integrated Restoration, your local experts in water, fire, and storm disaster restoration. Real quick on Joel, I asked him about the Hall of Fame. I pay very close attention to the Hall of Fame. I love the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Let's call it what it is. It's fish in a barrel. I'm from there. But I loved his answer. I've always loved how Clay Matthews has done it. Like, let everybody else advocate for you. Because I've seen guys who have really made a big deal and really campaigned for themselves, and it does come off pretty sad. It comes off kind of pathetic at times. And there's been a history there where certain guys, they just, you might be on a great team, you just get left out. And it takes away from a great career. Like, if you're out there and you're going, man, he's a 7-time Pro Bowler, he's a multiple-time All-Pro. Pro Bowls used to mean something. I brought that up with Joel. I hate that it's a joke now. I wish it was just voted on, because then it would actually mean something again. But now it's just become a gag to everybody. When it comes to Pro Bowls and the accolades, because that's the offensive linemen don't have much more than that. All-Pro and Pro Bowls, that's about it. That's about it. Like, you don't have stats. What stats do you have? Pancakes? That's it? I mean, and sometimes you guys, every now and then you get lucky. We paid attention to that with Orlando Pace in college. I can go off on an entire diatribe here. I'm just glad he seems to be very, very, very comfortable in his own career and how great he was during his career. Because I think because of the team's lack of success, no fault of his, but because of the team's lack of success, he won't get that chance to go to Canton and be in the Hall of Fame. Hey, you still have a hell of a legacy. You come around here, I don't think that Joel Bitonio at any tailgate anywhere in the future buys a drink. I don't think Joel Bitonio ever has a nasty word said to him in this city ever. I think that Joel Bitonio is welcome back any chance he wants, any time he wants, any chance we get to enjoy him, we try to enjoy him. I think it's a wonderful, wonderful thing. Very few guys who get to play the sport get to enjoy that. He's made a boatload of money. He's played his ass off for a long time, and he has the love and admiration of the fans. That's a lot in a lifetime. He is very, very blessed by that because of his hard work. And I think so many guys are like that, but you've seen a lot of guys in the past, it comes off kind of sad. Clay Matthews never did that. Clay Matthews, yes, I believe he's a Hall of Famer, and he lets guys in the media go after and rip others and say that this is what Clay Matthews, this is why he should be a Hall of Famer. He doesn't do that. And I think we might get to that point with Joel someday. And Joel's going to let us yell about it. Because some of the stuff I've seen in the past from some of the guys is like, yeah, you're probably not getting in and you're probably not helping your case here. And I love that he has that type of perspective on things. I really do. Speaking of...
how about him admitting earlier in the show when we had him on that if the Browns were better, he might be back this year. If they were legitimate contenders.
How do you turn it down? How do you not think about it? How do you not think? Aaron Donald, if the Rams were a 3-win football team going into this year and didn't trade for Myles Garrett, you think Aaron Donald's ever coming back? Hell no. You think about
you
all
toy
with that notion.
We always talk about where are the consequences for them being bad when they look into the front office. And it's like, well, here are the consequences. You end up trading Myles Garrett. That's a consequence of being bad. You wouldn't do that if you were a contender. You end up having to subject the fan base to Deshaun Watson versus Shedeur Sanders, and we're hearing not so good for either. And you're a guy that we're talking about, Ring of Honor type. We wish if guards were, if the Hall of Fame was more accessible to guards, that he would be bandied about his name, but Joel Bitonio is retiring now because of it. Like, these are the consequences to being bad. And there are a boatload of them. Andrew Berry gets to stay here and draft and do all that. And it looks like hopefully he's nailed some draft classes in successive years, but these are the consequences.
I do hope there's some guilt there.
And maybe
there probably is.
And maybe Denzel Ward gets traded.
No, there should be some guilt there because it had the job been done better, had they, and some of it's, hey, you didn't know this, you didn't know that, fine. Had the job been done better, you don't have to lose Myles Garrett. If had the job been done better, Joel Bitonio maybe gets more consideration for the Hall of Fame, because at some point the body gives out. That's where it's at. And I think in so many ways his body is given out. You wouldn't have to have these types of tough conversations. Nick Chubb, would his legacy mean even more had he got the chance to play in more playoff games had you not messed up the biggest position that you have? There's so many guys that have been around. You think about it the last 26 years, this is what's so frustrating. There's good players that have been on this football team, and I know I say every bad team has some good football players on it. It's the NFL. But you look at some of the guys that have played these positions here over the past 26 years, there's been some really good football players. Alex Mack was a really good football player. I know I never really got along with him, but he was a really, really, really good football player. Joe, Denzel, Joe on the other side of the football. You look at so many of these guys that you can think of right off the top of your head. Nick Chubb, if you just had it figured out at the right spot, had you not lost your mind in certain places and fired people and hired the wrong people and then had to fire them, it would be a lot better. It all plays off of each other. And it's missing. Joel Bitonio had this team been a perennial playoff team. Joel Bitonio is in the Hall of Fame. We're getting ready to I don't know if it's year one, but we're getting ready to celebrate at some point his legacy in Canton. We still get to celebrate his legacy at the stadium and at the new stadium, but had they been better, this does have your failures have real ramifications to my enjoyment as a fan, to my enjoyment of the players that did have a good relationship with the fans. Quarterback that hasn't had a very good relationship with the fans has been Deshaun Watson. Now, we know that if I go to the phones and go, what do you think of Deshaun Watson? There are going to be a lot of people we have to dump. But yesterday was the first time in 20 months Deshaun Watson has had a chance to talk to the media. And he was asked a question, Lima. What was he asked?
How he's been able to deal with the fact that he got cheered once he thought maybe his career was over right there in Brown Stadium.
So how did Deshaun feel about that?
I can't control what the fans and how they, approach me or approach any other person that walks out there. At the end of the day, when I step in between the lines, I got to lock in on the task at hand, and that's just winning and being successful. And so, that's my mentality is in between the lines, just block out the good or the bad, whatever comes with it, and just go out there and execute and play at a high level and try my best to win the game for us.
Kenny, can you have sympathy for somebody like Deshaun Watson? Because very rarely a player in sports and in the NFL, of all places, actually gets cheered by his hometown fans. Not all of them, but some of them, when they get injured at home.
You're making me out to sound like Jack Waltz. I'm not a hard-hearted man.
We don't have a lot of instances of that, do we?
I still believe, and I will always believe, because I was in the building.
Ken's still going with this, Owen.
I was in the...
That nobody was cheering?
No, I never said nobody cheered.
Okay.
I sat next to a person cheering.
Just making sure.
I told you that. I sat next to a person cheering. And I yanked him down going, what the F are you doing? Stop it. Part of that was because of who was sitting next to us. I did not think that. I'm not telling you who. I've told that story before. I don't need to tell you again. We all know who it was.
I'm not sure.
Well, I didn't want to be seen with a person cheering because, one, I did think that was wrong, and two, certainly didn't want to be seen with a person cheering, that sort of thing. It was not, you guys always roll your eyes, there was not that many people cheering. It was enough to be heard, but there wasn't that many people cheering, which I know I sound like Carman policy when I'm talking about Bottlegate, right? I say that. I get that. I didn't think it was an accurate representation of Browns fans in general. I will tell you, there is some modicum of sympathy when I saw him being carted out. When I see a man cry, I'm not a hard-hearted man. I'm not incapable of feeling any sympathy towards just about anybody. So, yeah, I guess I felt a little bit then in that moment, but it wasn't because of the fans. I was just like, man, you battled back, and now this happens, and it looks like I was like, his career's. I thought his career was over.
I did too.
I was like, he's not, because I thought that's it in Cleveland, and then who's going to pick him up? Who wants that problem on their hands? Like, this is it. That's $230 down the drain. That's 3 first-round draft picks down the drain. And I started thinking about that because I always think about the fans. Do I feel any sympathy? At that moment, a little bit. Ever since, no.
Just because what? He got paid so much money? Like, if he were better at football, you'd feel more sympathy?
Do you feel sympathy?
A little bit, yeah.
I said I felt sympathy at that moment, but how sympathetic am I supposed to be?
Just because, like, I can't, just from an athlete perspective, when we talk about athletes all the time, like, and of course, in his mind, I mean, it's impossible for fans to separate what he's accused of, all that. But, but in his mind, he doesn't think he did anything wrong at any point because he's never really come to grips with that, right? We've never heard him. I mean, yesterday was another opportunity. He didn't even get asked about it, right? Finally, that's the first time he's like in a long time. He's at a press conference and
20 months.
The news media wasn't
20 months.
They're over it. Like they've given up trying to see if he has any apologies to make.
Listen. In that moment, I was like, gosh. I mean, he threw his towel over his head. He's becoming emotional. Like, yeah, you feel a little bit of sympathy there. But now it's like, hey, I'll wonder what could have been, whatever happened. But I can't say I feel any sympathy. I don't know him. It's hard for me to feel sympathy there in that case, isn't it? You feel sympathy now?
But is it?
That's interesting if you feel sympathy now. You really do.
It's been years. I mean, it's been so many years here, and this has been such a disaster. And again, like, do you think he fleeced the Browns? Because I don't feel
they offered him a bunch of money.
I don't feel that this was a con job. I don't feel like he gave up. Now, I didn't like the fact that, first chance he got, he was out of Cleveland. Like, it would have been nice to at least, although maybe some people didn't even want him around, I don't even know.
It was hard for me to feel that way, and it's always been hard for me to feel that way because I just always have thought this is a business deal. Like, if you're drafted by the Browns and things go to hell, like, yeah, I'm going to feel sympathy. I will feel some sympathy there because you have 32 teams that can pick you. The Browns picked you, and for a bunch of reasons, and maybe some of it's your own, it didn't go well for you. I can absolutely feel sympathy for that. It's like this was a business decision, and I always thought, because I had always heard, and people always want to ask why, I had always heard when he's done with the contract, no matter how well he does, he's going to be out of here. That's what I always heard, and you know that. So, yeah, it's been hard to feel that sympathy. So, if he goes out and he plays for the Cleveland Browns, like, I want him to do well. I want whoever plays quarterback for the Browns to do well. I'd rather have Shedeur play, but I'd want him to do well. We'll see how it goes. But even if he does well, and if he does exceedingly well some way, somehow, which the reports say probably not going to be going that way, yeah, I'm ready to move on to somebody else. Am I not? 216-474-0092. Do I have time to take this? You want me to get him on the other side there, Owen? You want me to take him?
Yeah, we got some good ones.
Let me get to Ron and Menor here. Ron, hello.
Good morning, Ken and Anthony. Hey. I'm not an apologist for this guy, and I'm not even defending what he did, but I just wish he would issue a statement, anything, just say, hey, look, not necessarily admit guilt, but, I apologize for the distraction that's been caused the last few years. I'm ready to move on. I understand the fans will or will not accept me, but I hope they do. Something like that, just to it would definitely help make it go away, and at least maybe some of the fans would just back off, let it go. What's happened. Let's move forward. Let's try to win some freaking football games.
Well, Ron, I'll tell you this, Ron, and thank you very much for the call, is that
would it matter to fans? Do you think it would?
What?
Like Ron's saying, hey, it'd be nice if he ever would have apologized.
Well, after the incident, because, you had players come. Myles Garrett was admonishing the fans, and Jameis Winston was admonishing the fans after that. Like, I don't think that was ever going to happen. Now, if you said, like, hey, like, I know that the fans have been going through it emotionally here. We're here to win football games. I want to be here in a fresh start, and I want to do things with a fresh start. That'd be mostly acceptable. I know that there's going to be people who never accept. That's fine. But you're never going to win everybody over. There would be a possibility to that. But now that that's never been done, and in a case like you brought it up a bunch of times, like you wanted him to kind of have an apology there in the press conferences, and for so many years ago, he can't. Tony Busby's listening to everything he says. He doesn't want to be dragged back into court over something he believes that he did not do. So I can't even yell at him to say, you need to apologize to everybody. That wasn't the case. So there's only so much he could have said before. And then after what had happened in the Bengals game, like that was it. Like, because that was as wild as it got. Because, as much as I say that's overblown, that you had 70,000 people there, 63,000 people there, 63,000 people weren't cheering. Yeah, there were a couple people cheering, and there were definitely some people cheering by the crowd mic. So, if he wants to apologize, I don't know how much further that's going to go, because I think a lot of us are going, it's too little too late. We're looking forward to who's next. We're looking forward to either Shedeur, or we're looking forward to the magic list of players. Coming up in 5 minutes, when it comes to Andrew Berry, you're going to have to decide, am I right, me, or do I just desperately want to be right to make everything all good again? Ken Carman, Anthony Lima. Watch us live on YouTube, 92.3 The Fan on YouTube, for absolutely no price. It's absolutely free. Northeast Factory Direct at northeastfactorydirect.com. You want to talk about free?
Anthony Lima, Baskin and Phelps, An Afternoon Drive with Nick Wilson and Jonathan Peterlin. As a podcast, full hours, full shows. Find it all on the Odyssey app, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere you get your podcasts.
I want you to decide, am I right or do I just really want to be right? I saw the reports yesterday, and I want to ask you this because I got really excited. Parker Brailsford got starting reps yesterday, or he was with the first teamers yesterday. Is this correct? I should have asked Mary Kay about this, but Parker Brailsford.
Yeah, apparently.
Okay. Parker Brailsford is a fifth round, if I'm not mistaken, fifth round rookie center for the Cleveland Browns. And I know there's Luke Whippler out there and all that other stuff. But Parker Brailsford is round 5, pick 146. Parker Brailsford, center out of Alabama, formerly out of Washington, came over with Kalen DeBoer. So if he ends up playing and if he ends up starting and he ends up playing well, I want to take 95% of my criticism that I've ever had of Andrew Berry and throw it on Paul DePodesta. Is that right, or do I just want to be right? I want you to be very crystal clear about what I just asked. Not about wrong. Is that am I right, or do I just want to be right on that? Because, yeah, there's the great big elephant in the room. That's Deshaun Watson. Okay, that's 5%, maybe more because maybe you just don't like Deshaun Watson that much and hate that move that much more. That's fine. But, my God, I have Bucky Brooks over the last, I told you, I've heard Bucky Brooks, that podcast with Daniel Jeremiah is over. They just ended it, the Move the Sticks. I've heard Bucky Brooks 3 times mention in a side, they're not going to go right after guys, really. But he's mentioned 3 times, Bucky Brooks, former player, and scout, TV guy, the whole thing, has been yeah, it's amazing. Ever since Paul DePodesta's gone, Andrew Berry's starting to knock it out of the park. I wonder what's going on there. I'm going, I'm getting excited. If Parker Brailsford's a fifth-round guy and he ends up being a solid center for you, I mean, you go back to last year's draft, this year's draft that people are excited about. What am I to do, Tone? Because I'd love to scapegoat a guy who's no longer here. I'd love to. Am I right by doing that? That's why I'm asking you. This is a question for both of you guys to get in my head, maybe even John.
In this equation, do they actually win games eventually?
This year?
No, I just mean, you could tell me about all the different players they have and the good drafts that they have. Does it matter if they don't win games? The Jets had good drafts. The Saints had good drafts. They didn't win games. So part of being a general manager, yes, got to start landing draft picks. And they finally got first-round picks again. That also coincided, happened to coincide with DePodesta being gone. Oh, look, now we have first-round picks because they finally had their first-round picks back. You probably would have thought DePodesta was okay if they had more first-round picks. But those were used. We understand why. What I'm saying is the draft is part of it, but being a GM is more than just the draft. Also, being a quarterback is more than just some minicamp throws. There's so much more to being a GM. It's, do these pieces and parts add up? For instance, we all thought Andrew Berry nailed the draft last year, right? Mm-hmm. But did he also hurt the football team by taking the 2 quarterbacks in the 3rd and 5th round? Is that good general managing? Does that kind of,
would
in a
they
way,
have won more than 5 games had they not taken 2 quarterbacks in that draft?
Well, what would have happened? Let's think about this. Would they have kept Joe Flacco? Would they, you know what I mean?
Probably would have won less because they would have put Dylan Gabriel in there.
Or would they moved on from Dylan? They got injured anyway.
They just played with 10?
I mean, the only reason they moved on from him when they did was he got injured.
Okay.
So it wasn't just that he was bad.
So they would have kept Kenny Pickett. They would have kept Joe Flacco.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering.
Kenny Pickett's aunt would have been saying nasty stuff to us.
Nothing that the quarterbacks did won them games.
That's what I meant,
right.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying...
You could have played quarterback, Ken, and they were a 5-win team.
But what
the Steelers game, I could have played quarterback.
What I'm saying is the Jets added good players over the course of how many years? The Saints had good drafts.
Yeah.
They didn't win games. So, even in the great draft that he had last year, was that really going to result in a lot of games? If anything, what did we argue about all camp, the quarterback thing? Why did they take Dylan Gabriel in the 3rd round and then compound it with muddying that position with Shedeur in the 5th round? And then we are left to complain about reps. And did the receivers ever get the reps with the quarterbacks? Did you end up kind of.
I just think they were throwing it
cutting
at the
your
wall.
nose off to spite
I think
your
they
face.
were going back to that. I think they were just throwing it at the wall. But
my bigger point
I've always
is,
asked, was Andrew Berry the one that made that decision?
My bigger point is being a GM is more than just drafting the players. Yes, that's huge. You've got to land some drafts.
Right. Well, Andrew Berry yesterday with Peter Strager, he brought up it's more than just the draft. Let's hear that.
Yes,
it's not like the draft supersedes what you can do in the fall. I think number one, the ability to compete every season is sacred. That doesn't mean that at times you don't have to make strategic decisions at the trade deadline or something along those lines. We don't want to put a ceiling on a team. Like I think when we went to the playoffs in 2020 and 2023, like our Vegas win totals were, may have been like 5 or 6 games. So like, you don't know. Yeah. Rewind a year, how many people anticipated New England being in the Super Bowl or that Washington, Kansas City, Cincinnati would be picking in the top 10. You just don't know, how things are going to progress. I think the beauty of our sport is the parity and the fact that it's not like baseball, or maybe I would imagine a little bit hockey, where you have to have 5-year rebuilds to get a team back on track. I think the beauty of youth is like there is a level of like variance in the positive direction that makes you really excited going into the season. Also understanding that also there ends up being a little bit of a lower floor as well. I like how we're positioned because we're really excited about the players that we have going in the fall, and we're looking forward to winning as many games as we can, but also knowing that we are well stocked from like a resource standpoint as it pertains to the 27 through 29 drafts.
I easily want to scapegoat. I don't know if I'm going to be allowed to scapegoat. And so when you say these things, like this is me talking here now, I would love to put it all on DePodesta. I told you I didn't really care for the guy. I didn't like how everybody he seemed to meet always had to reintroduce themselves. Just wasn't a fan. Was not a fan. He seemed to come around when things were going well. Not a fan. And Andrew Berry's had to sit in there, and he's had to deal with some sincere criticism from all of us. Some sincere nastiness from the fan base as well. And it does feel a little bit like he's coming out on the other side. Now, it's June 11th. I don't know what's going to happen during this year, but if I'm picking him to win 6 games, that means he's still going to have to keep his head down a little bit because there's going to be some fans who are a little bit upset. Now, I know that the draft class and what's just happened, maybe that changes. I just want to know, because you guys, you do hold me accountable. Owen holds me accountable. Am I right, or do I just want to be right? Because when I hear these things about Paul DePodesta, Tone, like I get, by the way, that audio courtesy of the Schrager Hour, I get excited, and then I start to think, man, what did this guy do? But you're always the type of guy, you've always said, you're not the type of guy, you've always said, I think you're overrating what he actually did. I think you're overrating what he actually did, which makes me think that he's one of your sources, to be honest with you. But you've always kind of poo-pooed how important he is to all this thing, and I've been on the other side calling the guy Rasputin. And it's just odd to me that they're doing some things right, and he's gone. He's in baseball. It's just very weird to me that I kept going, man, Andrew Berry played the game. He had teammates. How does he not know how to do this? And then the guy who didn't play at, I don't know if at any level, the guy who does not have a history in football, that guy's gone. And I'm sure he did some good things there, but that guy's gone. And all of a sudden these drafts are doing well. Like they get lauded for their draft and how great it was this year. We'll find out. They got to actually put pads on. Last year's draft class was fantastic, even when you took a guy that nobody seems to like in the 3rd round and that they can't wait to get rid of in the 3rd round. And we put that on Kevin Stefanski. Like, here I am. One guy's gone to Atlanta. The other guy's gone to Colorado. And I just can't get caught in fan mode here and say everything's their fault, not Andrew's fault, because Andrew's still the one here. I'm troubleshooting, and I want to make sure that everything is on the up and up here because, again, we're going to start a season. And when we start the season, I can't go hide behind the things that I said in June.
Well, that's what I say. Are we going to say the same thing if they win 2 or 3 games this year? And they're one of the worst teams in football.
Yeah, but if they
are you going to say, wait, because I'm going to come back and go, wait, DePodesta's gone. What happened?
If they end, yeah, but you can win 2 or 3 games and still have some good players on this team.
Every team in the NFL has good players, Ken.
I understand that, but I'm talking about the young guys here. Did you not hear what I said?
Yes, and I told you, the Jets had good young players. They didn't win. The Saints had good young players. They didn't win.
And I get that. And I think that one of the lessons they're trying to learn or they're trying to follow through with is not throwing the baby out with the bathwater and restarting every other year like they had in the past, because the Jets do that a lot. And that's why they have to trade these tremendous draft classes every other year, because they keep switching it out every other year.
Okay, I love the Travis Hunter
and
trade.
They might have
I said I wanted Mason Graham. Like that to me was a safe pick. But there were other guys they could have taken. Did Mason Graham, is he going to help you win games over the next few years compared to other guys? Yeah, they took Carson
compared
Schlesinger.
to a quarterback.
Schlesinger is awesome. A linebacker doesn't win games the way we used to think they did in the 80s.
But if you have the quarterback, that's why if you end up drafting number 2 overall and you get Dante Moore, which hopefully he'll be playing better this year. He played really well last year. I just hope he doesn't have a fall off. If you end up getting the 2nd overall pick and it's like, all right, we're going to take a quarterback. You take Dante Moore, all of a sudden Carson Schlesinger looks a hell of a lot better. It's the Steelers principle of what I said. Carson Schlesinger is already a really good player, but they look better when they're around that type of QB. And when you have that type of QB for a long time, what did I say? There's a lot of guys who we overrated for years just because they wore that uniform, just because they play with Mahomes, just because they play with Lamar or with Josh Allen. We do that all the time because we don't pay as close of attention to them as we do with quarterbacks. So I know, and Browns fans know, that Carson Schlesinger's great. He's wonderful. He'll look even better when he's playing with good quarterback play. And I'm just trying to make sure that I hold myself accountable. Because when I see that Parker Brailsford is getting starting reps, and I know that there were people going, hey, they really like him. Like I'm going back to what I was talking about with Nathan on the air and all the other things. I go, man, I got Brailsford here. I got Barber as a future swing tackle. Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, that looked like a steal. Denzel Boston, he already looks faster. That's Zach Jackson saying that, and Zach doesn't say anything nice about anybody unless they 100% earn it. KC Concepcion, he's a burner. You got to get the ball in his hands. He's got to hold on to the ball, but there's a lot of nice things about him. And obviously, we think Spencer Fano is going to be a really good offensive lineman for us for a long time. Now we're doing really, really well.
What'd you think of a couple other tidbits in there? One, he said he was noticed first. Pat McAfee noticed him first because he was sleeping in the facility.
Notice who first?
When he was working in Indy, Andrew Berry.
Notice Andrew Berry first.
That he was sleeping, and he said, I knew back then he was going to be really good at what he does, and he loves football, obviously. And then Andrew Berry is like, I don't advise anybody to do that. We don't do that. Like, I wish I wouldn't have done that back then. And I know Kevin had said the same thing with us. I think that was maybe more off the air, but he said anybody who prides themselves in sleeping in the building, that stuff's for losers. That stuff is not for winning football. That's not acting smart. That's not working smart.
It's apples and oranges. I understand we internalize everything. You remember when I did that Sunday night show and would turn around and do the morning show?
Mm-hmm.
I would sleep in here every now and then, and it really messed with my psyche.
It's not good.
It
doesn't help.
It made me really depressed.
You could be tired all the time.
Yeah.
24/7. He also said he scouts games like in the SEC. He just shows up plain clothes like a civilian, buys tickets in the stands, and he wants to observe that way. I actually think that's really smart.
They've made a documentary about a guy who did a lot of those same things.
You think he's helping Princeton? Wait, he went to Harvard. His brother went to Princeton, right?
Did he?
Which one's which?
I can't tell. They're identical.
Well, the Ivy stuff, the Ivy League, the twin brothers, it throws me off. I got a text from somebody like 2 years ago who was at an SEC game who thought they saw him in the stands.
Yeah.
I'm like, he wouldn't be in the stands.
Yes, he would. Does not do the press box. Doesn't want to be on the sidelines.
Well, that's what me and him agree on. I like Andrew, but I certainly hate press boxes too.
Don't videotape it, and don't buy tickets for your mom to sit on the other side and videotape it.
You've been told you're marrying the guy. You're not marrying the team. One of us in here thinks that doesn't apply to a certain somebody we saw all over the cameras last night. Ken Carman, Anthony Lima on the Fan, Window Nation.
SelectQuote.com to get your free quote today. That's 1-800-329-1010. Details on example rate at SelectQuote.com.
Make the afternoon drive your soundtrack on the way into the Guardians games. And talk about the game on your way home on overtime. The best Guardians coverage is right here on Cleveland's Sports Radio, 92.3 The Fan.
When you get married, if your future wife is a sports fan, it's been said, I forget the famous commercial, it's probably for like DirecTV or something, you marry the man, you don't marry the team. So you automatically don't have to become a Browns fan. I mean, you may take the name, but you don't need to take the fandom. However, there's something different here. Of the celebrities that were sitting courtside, Game 4, possibly the biggest celebrity, I would say the biggest celebrity, was Taylor Swift. And she was clearly rooting for the Knicks, which I think threw a few people off because she was with Travis Kelce at the Eastern Conference Finals. Did not show an interest in rooting for the Knicks with her future husband, Travis Kelce. Am I correct?
She wore just plain neutral clothes, right?
Interesting, yeah. Yeah.
No custom Knicks t-shirt that night.
I don't think she has to become a Cavs fan, but Owen has you have an interesting...
Well, I think I agree with you to a point, except for Travis has made it his, that's his identity off the football field. Is he's a Clevelander and he's a big Cleveland supporter, and he's, obviously he just bought a small piece of the Guardians ownership, right? Bought into that. I do think that changes. Like they can't go to a playoff game in New York and her wear a Yankees hat now. Like that can't happen. I'm reading page 6 like crazy right now.
Really?
They're apparently getting married in MSG.
That was reported.
Oh,
that's
wow.
the rumor, and that's what MSG there. That's what page 6.
That was reported by a friend of mine, Mara Siegler.
Well, there's a whole bunch of parts to Madison Square Garden I didn't even know about until a few years ago.
I don't think they're in the little lobby outside of it. I'm going to guess they're going to be in a good portion of it. She's played there a bunch of times.
Well, they have a ballroom in there too. They have a lot of stuff going on in MSG. You look at her at the Cleveland game, she was not wearing anything to do with the Cavs. So I don't know. She took up a prime real estate, and the Cavs have since sold that seat or are attempting to sell that seat in an auction.
Well, somebody's selling that seat.
Yeah, well, we found out. I got confirmation from the Cavs and their partnership with that site that they listed the seat on, so it has been authenticated. So they're a part of that whole process. Last time we checked, it was $6,000. I don't know if it's gone up since then.
Couldn't tell you.
But now did the value go down because now she has been at MSG sitting courtside in Knicks gear? Did you see her ragdoll? The woman, what is her name?
Mariska Hargitay.
The actress. She's 62 years old. Yeah. And Taylor Swift is ragdolling
Jane Mansfield's daughter.
She picks her up off the floor and ragdolls her in excitement. So I don't think she was ever posing as a Cavs fan. I think she was more being accommodating for Travis and being a good partner. And I'm not really a Cavs fan, but I will accompany you to this event. And I guess, remember, she missed the whole third quarter of that game,
I don't remember
game 3.
No,
yeah.
I didn't know that. What was she doing?
She was they have different levels of club underneath, and they're in the red carpet, the newly designed over the last year for the real high rollers and big-time season ticket holders.
Congratulations on all their success.
Velvet ropes, Kenny. There literally are velvet ropes.
So does she have to give up her Knicks fandom when she gets married?
No, I don't think. I think this is the deal. I think she will serve as a great partner to her husband at events. But she's a Knicks fan. I mean,
except for I haven't seen her at any other games this playoff season except
I
for
haven't either.
The one that was at Rocket Arena, in which her husband, who is clearly a Cavs fan, and the Cavs have had a bobblehead of him.
Yes.
Should he have to have went to the Knicks game last night and supported the Knicks since she came and
that's
I
interesting.
had no idea she was interested in basketball.
And Travis
before.
is big enough. He's big enough that he could get a seat next to her. It's not like now they do a lottery and all that stuff. But yeah, he's big enough.
She was with two sisters who they have a band, Esty Haim and...
Yeah, she's performed with them.
I don't really know.
It's a rock band. It's like, is it 3 or 4 sisters?
It's 3 sisters, yeah. They should be called 3 sisters because I don't know the band.
I have no idea. I saw Larry David.
Who was going bonkers.
Good for him.
But at
was
his
synonymous with the city as well.
Okay, how old? How old
Big
is
sports
he?
fan. Got to be in his 70s. Easily.
Is he not closer to 80 yet?
He's got to be getting closer to that.
Larry
Yeah.
David is 78. He's
78.
turning 79 on July 2nd.
He's going nuts.
Love Larry David.
We don't see Woody Allen anymore. Is he not in good health?
I don't know what's going on with Woody Allen. I think
tell you.
You say it with the name Woody Allen. I think a lot of people think a lot of things.
They do.
I don't know what's going on with him, but I'll feel good for Larry David when they win the series. I'll feel good for him. I like him. Well, for obvious reasons, but I like him.
Isn't it a shame that Curb Your Enthusiasm is over and they can't film an episode of at the Knicks game?
It's Larry David.
Maybe
they might just do an extra one anyway.
They might have been filming last night. I don't know. Tracy,
I'm sure they can always put out a one-off.
Yeah.
And I got to know, how much money did Tracy Morgan win in that lawsuit when he unfortunately got hit?
Yeah.
That guy has all the best
When
seats.
he's back, he's got a new
Holy
TV
cow.
show out, too. And
It's incredible. It is incredible.
Harry Potter's in it.
That is a real fan. Ben Stiller, got to say, real fan.
I know
He's
him.
been at
I've
all
seen
these
him
games.
at other games, too. I've seen all those people that you name. I've seen them at other Knicks games.
Timothy Chalamet,
but not Taylor Swift.
Timothy Chalamet took his shirt off afterwards, got into a mosh pit.
Boy, I wish I could name anything that he's been in, but we've been down that road before. So how do you want this to go now in the future when they get married? I mean, you're a Chiefs fan. You're a Kelsey guy. That makes you a Swiftie in certain ways.
They're going to be a house divided.
Yeah,
Just slander her teams. That's what I do.
Once they're married,
Well,
and now
clearly he shouldn't bring her to any more Cavs games.
Well,
if she's going to be this ardent Knicks supporter.
But I've been to a Steelers game. I did not wear anything Pittsburgh.
Supporting the Steelers?
No, absolutely not.
I'm just fine. I've been to games where my team is not playing as well.
Would you?
I wouldn't. I didn't take up. I did. I went to a Twins game 2 or 3 years ago. We were in a playoff run. They were playing the Brewers. I was a big Brewers fan that day. It obviously helped the Guardians out. And the Brewers won, and we had a good time, and I had a lot of pops. There were no beatboxes there. There are no beatboxes here anymore. Sad day in my house.
I remember the Buccaneers won, and I just sat there quietly because I was like, you're going to get socked in the face if you say anything right now. It was a very ugly situation leaving that place. I did not think the Buccaneers were going to win that game, and they won that game. I was like, oh, my God, these people are really upset here. Have a wonderful day, my friends. Go. Guardians need a win tomorrow. Go Guards.
Yeah, they do.
Oh, Lord.
Let's get it done.
Sounds good. Where's your entourage now?
Cool, I got on the last show.
Oh, boy.
This is an Odyssey Sports Minute.
Sponsored by Prevagen. Prevagen,